What's up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Deckin Around. My name is Tyler.
I am Steve.
And today we are so excited for this guest. This is an epic episode, no question about it. For anyone who isn't aware, we are having Shin Lim on the show today. For anyone who doesn't know Shim, you've been living under a rock for the past decade at this point. But with that in mind, Shin is one of the most amazing, prolific magicians on the scene today. He's a two-time AGT winner, 2.5, but we'll go with the solid 2 there for the win. But all things considered, Shin Lim, amazing, amazing magician, amazing creator, awesome social media presence. And he's going to be opening up his new show at the Mirage in the coming weeks. So we are so excited to sit down, talk to him about his creative process, his magic, and everything in between.
Yeah, July 1st, man. It's finally here. I'm sure he's been waiting for that day to come, for
I can only imagine, man.
Over a year now.
Yeah, I can only imagine. It had to be crazy to have to sit back and wait for all that, especially because that's such an exciting thing to be able to get up on stage, but then have it kind of just delayed and indefinitely delayed. I think we all kind of dealt with COVID in different ways. Some of us really flourished during, others, kind of were looking forward to things that were going on, but everyone's plans were so drastically changed. So it's going to be interesting to hear what his take was on all of that. But before we jump into it today, guys, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. I just completely blanked out there for a hot minute.
You must have saw Bo's name in the chat, and he got.
I did see Bo pop in. I got little heart flutters there. So, and let's take a quick word from our sponsor this week. One of our favorite decks of 2020, the Wonder playing cards, feature beautiful 3D back designs and an amazing tuck printed by Clove Street Press. Make sure to check out the latest version, Scarlet, live on Kickstarter June 7th at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Dang, Tyler, what's up?
So I literally, so for that one, I was like, so who do you want to do the voiceover? Do you want Tyler or Steve? And the response was Tyler. And I'm like, all right, man, let's do this. I tried very hard. So
dude, I love how you said 2020.
I honestly that stuck with me though, because I'm sitting there and I'm like, all right, I usually articulate my words pretty well. I'm like, I think I say 2020, but I was like 2020. You have to make it very voiceover-esque.
You sounded like Barbara Walters there, buddy. That was good.
Sure, I'll take it. Thank you. Oh my God,
2020. You did good.
Well, with that being said, dude, I am so excited here. I cannot wait to talk to Shin. So why don't we bring him on?
Let's get him on.
Without further ado, everybody, here is Shin Lim. What's up, Shin?
Hello, yo.
Hey guys,
how you doing, man?
Thank you for having me. I'm good.
Dude,
thanks for coming on.
Thank you for coming on. Honestly, we are so ecstatic to have you on. We're so ecstatic to hear about everything that's been going on with you over the past year, but also just, sitting down and chatting with you about who Shin is behind the magic, behind the scenes. Obviously, I think a lot of America knows you from AGT. A lot of people in the community know you from social media. But I think, one of the cool things about all of that is that's only one small facet of who you actually are.
Thank you, Shiro.
Thank you, Shiro. We appreciate the support, man. Let me pull that thing up. There we go. Thank you, Shiro.
Oh, yes, thank you, Shiro. Well, no, I guess I'm nothing really like I am on. I mean, no one's the same, as they are on social media. I guess I would say I'm mostly a nerd. I really like anything to do with magic, anything that's magical. I would say I'm a card magician behind the scenes. Everyone would probably say that, I do just card magic, but I think I enjoy so much more than just that. I enjoy just kind of seeing how far you can push the limit of not only what your fingers can do, but what normal objects can do. You know what I mean? How far you can take vanishing a coin, for example, but in such a different way that's already been done. All the different ways the coin has been vanished. You don't want to do that because that's just doing the old stuff.
Right.
So you want to figure out how far you can take vanishing a coin, something as simple as that, utilizing different ways, different methods. I'm not going to get into that, but
Right.
That is what really fascinates me.
Yeah.
And so
It's so interesting
because that's
like,
what I've been doing at least during quarantine.
It's interesting because I think a lot of people, I mean, even when they see any type of coin vanish, right? One that's been done before, you know, obviously, like you said, most vanishes when people look at it, it stems from a basic of something, right? So to speak.
Yeah.
But I think that the next level, which is I think what you're talking about, is when something new comes and, you know, it might be pulled from the basic vanish or whatever. It just looks like something totally new and it baffles people the same way as the original did, you know? And I think that's just what makes people, you know, on that next level, you know?
Yeah, and it's also about creating something like something new that like introducing like a new concept, I think is also something I'm very fascinated with. I really like to try, like I've been doing a lot of experimenting during quarantine. I guess that's what because you're going to ask me, like, I read your mind. No, I didn't.
Oh, so now you're a mentalist. Okay.
No. That's not my job. I'm not a mentalist at all.
Oh my god,
that stuff is hard. I can't do that.
That is hard, man.
There's so much
we'll leave that to
subtlety.
Spidey.
Yeah, we definitely leave that to Spidey. All the subtlety and psychology behind it absolutely
I can't
astounds me. But
I'm not like a talker. I could never speak. I was like such a terrible public speaker in school. So
that's why Shin comes on and he's like, he does when he did his original act, he was silent and everyone's like, he just doesn't talk.
Yeah. Well,
dude, that's builds a good air of mystery. But so how is that I won't say fear of public speaking, but how's that dislike of public speaking treated you performing on stage though? Have you kind of gotten over that, or is it something that still gets you a little nervous before you get on stage?
Yeah, it's not. I'm not naturally good at that. Like I'm not. It doesn't come naturally to me. So like, let's say if someone asked me like, "Oh yeah, can you do like an hour of stand up?" I'd be like, "Oh hell no," because I don't know. I just wouldn't be able to do it. Like I wouldn't be able to go up there and improvise. I could never improvise. Even with piano. So like I used to play the piano before Magic. I did it like pretty seriously because I went to competitions and stuff like that.
Very cool.
I went to university for it. That was like kind of my dream, was to be a pianist. And I could never improvise. So like when I was applying to university, like, you know, they would have me play. They usually have you play 90 minutes of your repertoire. That's fine because that's all like pre-memorized. But then they would be like, "Oh, can you play something in C minor or whatever, or in A or G?" And I was like, I can't do that. That's just, and which was very embarrassing because I'd be able to play like really difficult songs, pieces, sorry, and then they would ask me to kind of jam. Apologies for
no worries. Say not to,
bro.
Yeah,
that is always has permission to make noise. Okay.
Natsu's our next guest for Deckin Around. We're gonna get him on for like episode 73.
Say hi. Say hi. Oh. Come here. What are you barking for?
He wants to be on, dude. Come on.
The boy.
Natsu.
He's so
here,
cute.
let's white balance the camera right here.
I know,
right? Perfect white balance.
What's up, Natsu? Dude, he is such a little love.
He's so cute.
He really is.
Natsu. He's
Amazon too.
Go get him, Natsu. Go get him.
Amazon too.
Can you imagine if we were doing a Zoom show?
Oh my god.
No,
So what?
Yet. We're lucky.
It
hasn't happened, so fingers crossed.
Now, I so when you were, doing them, I mean, it's just like a lot of musicians can't write music, right? So, which I guess they can look at that as being, a lot of people are embarrassed by that, or a lot of musicians are embarrassed by that, or whatever, and a lot of musicians can't write songs either. Like they can't write quickly, at least, so they have other musicians write. Is that like kind of a bad thing if you can't improvise when you're playing piano?
I mean, with Magic, I can't improvise either.
Yeah.
So like, let's say someone told me to like, even with the deck, maybe with the deck of cards, I can improvise a little bit because I just have very like knowledge of just different types of tricks. I just know too many card tricks.
Right.
But even with the deck of cards, someone did like oh, can you do like a mentalism thing? And then they were very specific with what they wanted. I highly doubt I'll be able to do it with like a proper presentation. I'll probably be able to do it just like mechanically, but with the right words and everything. Like I can't, like I don't know, like it definitely won't look like Juan Tamari's like comfortable type performing. I would look very uncomfortable for sure.
I wonder if that's just because you're like just so you do so much training and so much like preparation that in your head maybe you want to do that.
Be prepared and be more comfortable.
Yeah,
with it.
That makes sense.
Yeah, it could be that. I'm not too sure why, to be honest. I think it's just ever since I was young. It's just something that I've always like I've always needed to know what I was gonna do. Yeah. That way I wouldn't focus on the technicals of it, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. So like with piano, it was the same. Like I would never, especially during like competition and stuff like that, I would never, what's the word? Focus. Yeah. I never focused. I would never play with my brain. Like I never play the piano with my brain. I would always play with my emotions. So that's how I do it on stage. I'm never like, okay, time to do the DL, time to do this move, the top change, time to do this. Like I would never think about that. I always feel for Magic, I would feel the track. So whatever track is going on, I would feel that. And then if I was doing just a regular trick without music, like Woody Aragon's 4-card tear, whatever that was, I kind of feel what the audience is feeling. I never think about the technicals at all. And I think maybe that has part of that is the reason why. Maybe that's why because I'm pretty sure when you're improvising, you need to think about what you're doing, right? So
yeah, there's a lot of like specific motion.
Yeah. So I would never. For some reason, that's just piano Magic. It's always been the same. I never think about what I'm doing. Probably not a good thing in life. But.
I mean, it's kind of a good thing in a way because if you think about it too much, that's when a lot of people get nervous and anxious. So if it's just happening, you don't have time to think about it. Mm-hmm. Oh my God, Shin, you're human.
Well, it's tough. It's tough when you're doing synchronized stuff. So with music, it's tough because you always want to go in one. For me, I want to go in one from beginning, middle to end with no stopping. With Magic, it's the same because I've kind of restricted myself in this little weird box where so when I'm performing, I never have a guy behind this theater going like Q1, Q2 with the music. It's literally from beginning to the end is one track. And if I mess up there's any sort of delay at all, let's say maybe I for some reason forgot to do something, I have to backtrack and then do that and then quickly fast forward. But while the music is still going on and there's no stopping, there's no way the stage manager can stop my music and then resume because there's like at least a trick every 5 seconds. And and she can't just like stop the music because people
stops the flow.
They can realize that happening. So with my stuff, it's like I put myself in this weird box where it's like I have to make sure it's perfect.
It sounds very like high pressure though too.
Yeah,
and it sounds like you kind of flourish under that high pressure though, because you can't make a mistake, and so you kind of force yourself to really be, I don't want to say perfect, but as close to perfect as you can be. And really, I mean, it almost sounds like though in those situations where maybe you do slip up a little bit and it's noticeable to you, it may not be noticeable to the rest of the audience that you're going back and doing this. So really that's in and of itself a little bit of an improvisation there, because you're deviating from the exact plan. You know, granted, you're just going back and repeating a part of the plan you missed, but that is off plan. So
and the crazy thing is, I'm sure the stage manager is a lot happier that it happens that way, because then they don't have to feel like under that pressure. They're just like, I press, it goes.
She's great though. Like they have other things to worry about. So it's and they both actually. So Casey, she does the camera directing, and then we have Amelia, she does the stage managing. And they both have helped me on multiple occasions. And not just like on a magic mess up, but like just other things in general.
Yeah.
So it's been really good to have them. But yeah, in terms of just the musical acts in itself, I'm all by myself on that. I'm on my lonesome, and I have to figure it out.
That's cool. It must be fun, I guess, composing that piece.
Yeah, that's the hardest part.
Like
it's the hardest part. Yeah, it's I'm very picky with the music, so it takes me a long time to figure out what I actually want. Like it's a very long process of filtering through like thousands of tracks in my brain, and then figuring out which one I think is the best fit for it. And once I find it the best fit for my magic, then I have to go through the process of synchronizing everything, because I have OCD, I'm pretty sure, or ADHD. I'm not, or both. I have both.
Maybe both, yeah.
And so like I have to synchronize everything, or else I'll go crazy.
Yeah, so, dude, I mean,
that's impressive.
We do a 2-minute video and we have to synchronize it, and it's crazy.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine doing a stage act synchronized, but like you said, though, there's so much emotion in the way you proceed that it makes a lot of sense that the music has to be perfect, because to get that right emotional reaction, not only from you, but from the audience, you want it to line up and you want it to convey the message. It makes a lot of sense.
In order for me to feel anything, I needed to synchronize for whatever reason. Don't ask me why.
I mean, that's why my methodology for music for YouTube videos is I always just go with like trap music, because I like trap music. And if someone doesn't like it, well, that sucks. So I keep it simple there. You know, you go for a genre, you stick with it. But
you like, that's
dude,
right.
Yeah. I mean, well, and it's interesting though too, because like you said, you know, it's so hard to pick the thing that really finds the flow as best as you can. You can spend hours doing it, if not days doing it. And really with the amount,
I'm very slow. I'm very slow at my work. People get
you're not slow, you're methodical. You're methodical.
It's good you had over a year to do this new act.
Oh yeah, no, it's been this quarantine is well, I mean, it's you know, it's been so hard for so many people. It was very tough for me too, to kind of put everything on hold, but I think it was a good break for me, because now, you know, before when I was going to open up at the Mirage, that was always something that was going to happen no matter what. Like I was always going to perform there, but it's a new show. It's going to be a totally new show. So I have 2 brand new acts I've been working on during quarantine, and so it's been I've been doing a lot of experimenting. Like it's been pretty fun.
That's cool.
Can't wait to show.
Now, how long is the show typically?
So they want it to be 70 minutes or 75 minutes, but that is way too short. so they're always like, so Shin, it's gonna be 75 minutes, right? And I'm like, yeah. It's like 90 or sometimes even 100 minutes. So.
Oh wow.
They pretty much they just want people to be in the casino, so they just like make sure you're fast so that they can go to play roulette or something.
That's hilarious. It's like, we love people coming to the show, but we want to get them into the casino.
That's right.
I mean, it makes sense though. Again, that's their business model. The more time on the tables, the more they make. The shows get you in the door. The tables hopefully keep you there. So
that's right.
That's interesting though. I never even thought about that too. About that, like, there's probably a lot of research and psychology behind that number too. Like, 70 minutes. Like at that point, someone's invested in the location, but not so invested that after, like a movie. Like after a movie, no one sticks around the movie theater. Granted, there's nothing to really do there, but like even if there was, you spent 2 hours somewhere, you're ready to go home. But like 70 minutes is probably like a sweet spot there.
Yeah, I didn't think about that. Maybe I should make my show 75.
That would
Oh,
mess
okay.
with the flow, dude. That will cause all sort of problems for you.
So now a lot of people are curious about the whole piano thing in the chat, and I'm actually really curious about this as well. Do you still play?
I can, but I
Okay.
can't practice. Yeah.
Oh,
Mm.
okay.
So I
Thank
can't
you, Steve.
practice for like longer than 15 minutes a day, which
Oh, wow.
is not like sustainable because the music that I play is really difficult.
Yeah.
Okay.
So like Debussy or like Beethoven, that like Moonlight Sonata Movement Number 3, for example, that would be one of the songs that I had in my repertoire. So like when I was in university, I had like a 90-minute set. Essentially, it's very similar to magic. You have your set,
Yeah.
and in order for me to be able to continuously play that 90 minutes, like I need to practice at least 8 hours a day, at least.
Mm.
So I can't do that anymore. So
Yeah, your hands, you just.
yeah, it's just can't do it. It's
Yeah.
not possible. Yeah.
Thank you
Like
so much.
my
Stu.
wrist would just like hurt. So
Yeah. That makes sense.
Thanks, Stu. We appreciate the support, man.
Yeah. I would press my buttons, but I don't have my
Oh yeah, Steve's soundboard's in the shop.
my soundboard's in the shop, so I can't give you any fart sounds, guys. Sorry.
Jeez. So now, when it comes to piano, like you said, you have your repertoire that you can play, or that you used to be able to play for university. Who was your really like one of your favorite composers? Who actually, whether made up a large portion of your repertoire, or just you enjoy playing or listening to the most?
I really like Chopin.
Yeah.
Mm.
All right.
Yeah, I really felt like I could feel what he felt.
All right. And do you still find
Yeah.
yourself listening to a lot of classical music, like in your downtime? Is that still kind of your go-to for relaxation or just
Yeah.
enjoyment? Nice.
Yeah, relaxation. But I don't think my fascination with was just classical. Like I wasn't like, oh yeah, that's my fascination, just classical Mozart. Like it wasn't that. It was I believe I like all sorts of music. So I listen to a lot of like orchestral, like movie music soundtracks.
Okay,
And
cool.
before it used to be very like standardized. But I think Hans Zimmer really changed the game, and he really made it like a thing. Like
Yeah.
he made it like this is its own separate genre that you guys need to focus on.
Yeah,
because
movie
it has
scores are legit.
movie
Yeah,
scores,
they definitely
and so I listen to a lot of those now. And you can tell it's all my acts. So.
Dude, and that's cool though, because again, that emotion comes through on a movie score. Because actually, I was watching something the other day, and they were like, you could tell they were amping you up for like a jump scare or something like that, and not even based on the actions that were happening, but all of a sudden the tone of the music changed, and all of a sudden it gets a very much like an anxiety causing like sound, and you're like, oh shit, something's happening.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is, but it's coming. And I love that aspect of movies in general, and I think the scores play such a big part in that, because it lifts you up, it gets you invested. It's so cool.
No,
And I think
it's a great addition to any art form. I think not just movies, but like that style of doing like music where the music enhances it. That's the thing. That's the thing I think movie scores did right, is that they knew not to inflict on. They knew to like be this the underlying feeling, not so they didn't want to be the front and center.
Yeah.
And that's what's so powerful about cinematic scores, and also what's so like supportive as well. They really support the main actor, and so for magic it does amazing things because it supports the act. It really emphasizes things in a very subtle way, so it's not obvious, but it makes them feel certain emotion.
Yeah, no, for
almost
sure.
like subliminal message. It's great.
And at certain times, at those key points, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even like horror movies is a perfect example. I mean, there's a certain way to write a score for a horror movie. It's like, it's not how you would typically write a song. It's like off beats or however they do it. Yeah,
they do the
very
beats.
uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It's always different. It's always like when you listen to it by itself, it's so funny because it's just like what even is this? Like sometimes it doesn't make any sense because it was made just for the scene. So like there are certain jumps, but but the funniest thing is it works perfectly for magic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because because then all I have to do is some people say this is very hard, but for me it's very easy. And for me, I find it perfect, because then it's perfect for me to be like, okay, well then I can add the climax of the routine here. You know, because the music decided to have a crescendo, so now I can build my act based on that crescendo, and
That's really cool.
it's like almost like a perfect opportunity type of thing. So that's why I also decided to use like cinematic music, because they have these like waves that was meant for the movie or meant for the scene or whatever. I just took advantage of it, and I was like, okay, well, this is perfect for what I need here, because for magic is the same thing. Magic it's a lot like a scary movie, like you guys are talking about.
Yeah.
You know, magic's about setting up suspense for people. A lot of magicians do that. And then there's some sort of mystery. People are always very mystified.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden there's a surprise. You know, there's a scare factor. In scary movies, that, you know, the heart starts racing, but for magic, it's different. Magic, it's a kind of a shock, like this is impossible, and then it's a puzzle. You know, they try to figure it out, try to solve it, like any magic trick. So that's why I love it, because you're able to kind of manipulate their brain and give them that kind of suspense with the music and with magic too, and then you surprise them. And the good thing about scary movies is that it keeps going. They get scared, and then it keeps going until the very end.
Right.
And so I use the same technique. It's that's why you notice my magic. It's not just like a build up to one effect. It's a build up to an effect, and then I have a kicker and another kicker, and then I go back to the setup, and I suspense it, and then kicker, back to suspense, kicker, and then there's a swap of sorts where you kind of go back to the beginning. So if you kind of base it off of that, like you kind of make it feel like if you write your story, like you write your act, how a scary movie, a really well done scary movie, I think your audience might really like your act, because it's they kind of get surprised on multiple occasions, and in a very unsuspecting way too. So they feel like they can't have time to solve your puzzle. Very much similar to a scary movie. That's why they do that.
Right.
They keep having these crescendos and climaxes and all these different things to kind of misdirect you. I mean, movies are pretty much the same as magic, in my opinion, because they use very similar techniques of misdirecting, so that you can't solve that puzzle in your brain. You don't have time to do that until the very end of the movie, and then it's finished, and then you're like, oh, well, that was a great movie. Or that was a great show.
Yeah, that makes sense.
You didn't have time. So that's that's the thing with magic. You get sometimes a lot of like this massive setup, right? And then you get the trick. The trick is done, and then the guy like gets an applause stands there. You just tries, gets the applause, which is great. But the problem with that, I think, is that the people, they're like, oh, okay, and then they think about it in their head, and they're like, oh, okay, so that's how you did it. Right. And that's not what you want.
Yeah, you want that continued mystery throughout and beyond, even.
Yeah, you want them to feel like they're overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Which is exactly
and
like
then
a horror
there's no
movie.
way. Yeah, exactly like a horror movie. Then why
I
is
feel
the
like
heart racing at the end of it?
That part that you're talking about, how like it builds up to that climax, that scary moment, and I think that kind of release is the same, whether it's like scared, shocked, or it's like exhilarated, I guess you can
it's a
say.
WTF. It's a WTF.
Yeah, it's kind of that same emotion,
That is that instant feeling where you genuinely believe there's no possible way that happened, or that, oh my gosh, she was the bad guy the whole time. Like, it's that, and no way. It's just for that split second that they think that. Of course, they watch the movie again, they know. Right?
Yeah, you can see it.
Watching a magic trick again, then they know what the ending is. They know what to expect.
Right.
But it's that the first time they watch it, the movie, the scary movie, the first time, or even action movie, it could be a thriller or whatever. But it's the same as watching a magic trick for the first time. You want that split second of WTF, or there's no possible way. in their brain, because you know, every trick is solvable, every movie is solvable, you know, but it's being able to get that initial unexpected reaction is key, because that's how you get emotions running in people. You know, if they don't feel that, then you're not doing your job right.
But now I have a question around that.
Yeah.
Who was that first person that gave you that emotion, gave you that feeling of just shock and awe, that's, you know, that you saw and you're like, holy shit, I want to do that. I want to be like that.
So many magicians. And I think, you know, the thing is, I didn't really understand it when I first saw it, that feeling. But now that I do, now I know what to look for. Probably the very first time, it's hard to tell because there's so many magicians. I'll list a couple, that way I don't, because I don't have like a favorite or anything. They're all amazing in their own way. I would say Lance Burton was one of the first ones on YouTube. I watched his FISM act, his Dove act, and Carbon act too. It really, because it's just one after the other, right? It just never stopped. And so, of course, and in terms of close-up magic, I think in terms of learning magic, Blaine was a huge inspiration just in terms of learning it. Yeah. But when it comes to that type of like artistic factor of constantly surprising you with one thing after another, Jan Frisch is another amazing magician. I don't know if you guys ever seen him. If you guys haven't seen, you should watch
I've heard of him, but I haven't seen him.
I haven't seen him perform yet.
He understands this concept really well, better than me, probably. Yeah, he's an actor. You know, he's perfect in that sense. He really understands how to draw someone in. He has no music, by the way. No music at all. Nothing. He doesn't talk anything. Nothing happens. Like usually there's a backup track. I need a backup track. He doesn't. He does everything completely silently. Doesn't even talk. Doesn't make any noise at all. And it's a cups and balls act. And you would think like, oh, cups and balls, it's easy. I guarantee you, just watch the act. And actually, you know, watching on YouTube doesn't even do it any justice at all. You got to see it live. Like this guy is the epitome of like one after the other, and it's not even like one WTF moment in one part of that. It's literally the whole time. And you have you have a feeling of suspense too, because his acting is just incredible. So he's another magician. Yu Ho Jin, he's another class. His FISM act as well.
Awesome.
Let's see. There's there's Jean-Pierre Ballerina. When I first saw him on YouTube, I was like, wow, this is pure magic, because I had never seen close-up magic done just, you know, to music. But one of the first ones that I ever saw. I think it was like World's Greatest Magic, one of those like super old videos, but it was cool. Nice. But yeah, I can't think of any others, but there's so many ones out there that have the same type of style of like this, you know, because the majority of magicians, I think like the classic magicians is very much like, if you look at the graph of like magic, it's like it goes here because it's all set up, build up, and then you got this spike, right?
Yeah,
right.
So, but then there are some magicians that are like wavy like this, and it's just a slow exponential line upwards, and then eventually it crashes, right?
Yeah,
like the stock market. But
let's hope it doesn't crash too much, right?
No, it's gonna crash. And so, anyways, it's a wavy line like that, and so that's mainly what I'm gonna. That's what like Jan Frisch and all those others. They literally, I'm pretty sure, designed it that way. I mean, you have to know that to do it. Like you have to be aware of it. Because it's a very specific way of building an act. Like you got to purposefully make the beginning of your magic not so good on purpose. And so a lot of these guys, I haven't never asked them, but I'm quite sure if you watch their act, you can see it. You know, they purposefully save the best for increments. Like they incrementally put, and then sometimes they put like the best trick specifically 5 minutes in of the act instead of 6 minutes and 30 seconds because they were like, okay, I can create this form of unexpected reaction right before I move on to the twist, you know, later on. And then that really makes people question their reality because like it's just too much for them to handle. So
do you ever have people cry like in your show?
Sometimes, yeah.
That's cool to be able to build that emotional response.
Mostly magicians. Sometimes you know lay people, but I would say it's mostly like magicians. Majority have been in elderly magicians.
That's cool.
I guess because I don't know why. But they usually tell me like they usually watch magic and they're big fans of magic. Sometimes actually you know what, most of the time they don't perform magic, but they're massive fans of magic, so they would watch magic like at the castle, or they've seen a lot of magic before. So yeah, I
mean, I would imagine that would happen more than you probably even know, you know, because it's just like music, you know, music affects people differently. Obviously the people that perform the music, I remember watching videos of like people with Michael Jackson, and good Lord, it was crazy. But I'm sure, you know, people react to that emotion differently, you know, and that's why I figured it was something to ask, because I would imagine people would cry in such uncomfortable moments, you know?
Yeah, well, it's interesting too. You mentioned the whole like buildup of that emotion throughout, and the way you kind of like, it's not just that hard drop until really the end. And it was funny because we were talking a little bit about the horror stuff before. I was thinking about a television show that probably came out maybe 2 years ago now. It was like a Blumhouse Productions. It was called Into the Dark, and it was like a seasonal anthology of horror shows, and they were all based around holidays. So every month they would have a holiday-oriented horror movie or horror show, and they were like an hour and 20 minutes. And they were good, but they were never great, and I couldn't figure out why until this exact moment here. At the end, they never had that continuation where like there was an ultimate finite ending where they'd basically be like, oh, this was the bad guy, but now he's dead. And then you'd be like, but is he? And then they would come back and be like, no, he's really dead. And he'd be like, oh, okay. And it was just so unsatisfying. And like talking about this here, it made me realize why it was so unsatisfying, because one of the great things about horror movies or about, you know, really emotional performances is they don't really end. They have this potential continuation that could go on forever.
Not even horror movies, just movies in general.
Movies in general, yeah, exactly. Like a good movie doesn't really just wrap everything up with a nice little bow and that's the end of it. Like it's boring. And I'm sitting here and I'm like,
there's usually not just like one review. Like back in like I think a long time ago when cameras were really expensive and you know how they had to film in like reels, they couldn't film in an SD card or anything like that, so like they had to get one take and that was it. So you know that I totally understand, but like as time went on, I think like directors got like way more artistic and they got to really experiment, and then and then you see these multiple ending type of movies, which is great.
It's kind of funny because I mean obviously to be continued, and like movies that have different endings can cause so much drama. Sometimes you get pissed off because it doesn't end the way you want, or it ends too soon and you're like, what the I can't wait 6 months to see the next part. You know,
think about the end of the last season of Game of Thrones. People were like rioting because of it, and it's like that's and honestly, like I mean, listen, it wasn't the best ending they could have possibly done, but at the same time, I'm a firm believer that with like shows that build up that much emotion for people, you're never going to make everyone happy. And so like you do the best you can and you kind of roll with it. Yeah. Like sometimes they end great. Sometimes they end just like whatever. We actually just rewatched The Wire, which if you haven't seen it, absolutely phenomenal show, highly recommended. But the ending of The Wire is basically the restarting of the beginning of the series. And so part of the whole narrative is that like life is this like cyclical kind of experience, and such a great like message behind it, especially when you build up that emotion and you invest in these characters over several years. In theory, you know, obviously when it was first airing, it was several years. Now something like that, you can binge in a couple of weeks, but you still get that same emotional kind of connection. In fact, they say you actually get a deeper emotional connection when you binge stuff. And I think there was a study not too long ago that showed that when you binge television, at the end of it, you have deeper depression spikes than like if you watched a show naturally. Yeah, like because you're going so deep so quick, and then all of a sudden it's gone, and you're like, oh man, it's like when you read a good book and you finish the book and you're like, shit, what do I do now? Like,
I had that with Breaking Bad. I was like, it's over. No. Dude, I finished Breaking Bad in, I'm pretty sure, one long weekend.
Oh my god, man, that's intense.
I watched it. No, dude, that's my favorite TV show.
I couldn't get past the fifth. Was it the fifth season? The fifth season? Because I feel like I watched it. It was great. I watched it, and every time I think I want to say it was either. How many seasons were there?
There's 5. It's 5 seasons. 5.
Okay, so I didn't get past the 4th season. So I started watching into the 4th season, and I just felt like everything that happened was the same as what happened in the 3rd season. He would get almost caught. Something would happen to him. He'd be fine. It just seemed like a progression.
I was so addicted to it. I was like, they got me hooked like a drug. It's great.
The show itself was visual meth, basically.
Yes, it was. Sure. It's about meth, but now we're gonna hook you into it.
Yeah. Well, and Steve, from that repetition point of view, though, I think part of that is like, what's the fear as a drug dealer? You're gonna get caught. So that always has to kind of be the.
Yeah, but he never got caught. Ever.
I mean, you'll have to watch. You'll have to watch till the end. You'll have to watch till the end, man.
Maybe the last part he got caught, but like, come on, like a drug dealer that, I don't know. It would have been cool to see his like, I don't know, man. I don't know.
For me, it was the acting. It was the acting.
It really was amazing.
Yeah, no, for sure. 100%.
And the screenplay was just so well written. Like the whole thing was so well written. I was just so like fascinated by how he did all of it. And
the cinematography
and
great too.
The cinematography is good. But the screenplay is just really what made it, like the way they paced out everything. For it being when you first watch it, you don't think much of it. You're just like, well, this is about a science teacher drug dealing. Okay, like I mean, it's kind of a funny thing. It's almost like meme-ish,
Right.
But the acting and the way they the characters, the different characters, it was perfect for me. And everyone has their own favorite thing, but
for sure.
Breaking Bad was my I was like, okay, this is amazing.
Dude, it's a solid show.
Yeah, it definitely was. I think the last one I saw is when the hospital blew up. Was that?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah,
season 3 or 4?
Mm-hmm.
I think that might have been
the ending of 3, maybe.
I think it might have been the end of 3. Yeah.
So I saw a couple shows after that, and then I was done. Yeah.
I always love like the fact that really kind of, I don't want to say catapulted Bryan Cranston's career, because like he had a career before that, but it really like opened up everyone's eyes to how like he wasn't just the dad from Malcolm in the Middle anymore, and that always like gave me a kick, because like I loved Malcolm in the Middle too, and it just went to show.
Maybe that's why I liked Breaking Bad so much, because I grew up with Malcolm in the Middle.
Such a good show.
I never even saw
watched
that.
Maybe that. So I think a lot of it has to do with that though, because you see him as this like loving dad.
It establishes like a
kind of goofy. He's not very doesn't know what he's doing kind of thing. And then you see him Breaking Bad, and he's that same goofy character, science teacher that doesn't really know what he's doing. And then all of a sudden he has this character change, and that is the most fascinating thing. And I think so wow, I never thought that been why I liked it so much.
I just always remember from like Malcolm in the Middle, like the scenes where like Lois would be like shaving his back, and like for some reason that always stuck with me. It was the most horrifying thing, but it always made me laugh so much. And I'm like, how can you not like this guy? He's literally in the kitchen while everyone's eating breakfast getting his back shaved. Like, it's like, what? So
that show was such a fun show to watch.
I wonder how much of that kind of like tied into him getting that role for Breaking Bad, because they knew that past experience. Experience established like a rapport with the viewer. Yeah.
They definitely.
How long was Malcolm in the Middle on for?
I think 3 or 4 years.
Long time. Long enough for me to see it and remember it.
Seven seasons.
Oh wow.
Yeah. television shows don't last that long anymore. Like I feel like nowadays a good run for a show is like 3 or 4 seasons on the high end.
Dude, look at freaking whatchamacallit, SVU. That's just like 18
Yeah,
seasons.
but those are like
unless you're SVU.
yeah. If you're
like
Law and Order or
ridiculous.
CSI, if you're Law and Order or CSI, you'll go forever.
Yeah.
But like most of the franchises now don't get that long. I mean, I think you look at Supernatural just ended. Supernatural was like 15 seasons, something like that. You look at like a lot of the CW stuff was much longer, but now it's not the case. It's really kind of yeah.
How many seasons have Ghost Whisperer? What's the girl's name again in there? I forget her name.
Let's see here.
A couple.
Jennifer Love Hewitt. Yeah. How many seasons did this get?
That show's still on?
107 episodes.
Oh, that's not that much.
It was on for 5 years. It was 5 seasons. Yeah. Still, though, that's a lot longer than I would have thought that show got.
Yeah, for some reason, I thought that had like a ton of seasons, way more than I expected. I was like, wow, this is
probably just felt really long.
It's because Jennifer Love Hewitt was in it. That's why.
Well, it just kept playing on my CW like all the time when I was young. I would turn on the TV and then Ghost Whisperer, like after school, and Ghost Whisperer was on. I'm like, wow, they still have this.
Oh my
god! It's the same. That was like the same thing all the time.
Yeah. What's that other show? The Originals. Aren't all those shows, those vampire shows, still on?
So I think the original one of that show, whatever it was, ended. Vampire Diaries or whatever, and then
that was the original one.
But yeah, that ended, and they rolled into the Originals. I think that's only on season 3 or 4 though, and then
really.
I think so. Maybe it's more. I don't know, man. I've gotten away from like the CW stuff because it's not as like entertaining as it used to be. Let's see what we got here. Oh no, 8 years it's going on, but it's only got 92 episodes, so short seasons.
Yeah.
Or no, actually, hold on. No, sorry about that. Five seasons.
Oh wow. So it's about it's the average. Yeah. It's still going though, right?
Oh, it ended in 2018.
Oh wow. Yeah, you're right. So nothing stays long anymore except SVU.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I just remember like when Seinfeld.
There's just so much out there.
Yeah. I mean, it's tough to like have something that holds attention that long. Though I mean, I'm sure you've even seen this on like the social media side. Like attention span on social media is kind of representation of attention span the world over these days. You know, you look as each social media platform evolves. You have something like MySpace, which is tell everyone about you. Then you have Facebook, which is like keep in contact with people who you wouldn't normally keep in contact with. Then you go to Instagram, which is like post a picture, but you're not really saying much. Twitter, say as little as you possibly can. Vine, post a 15-second video, and now you have TikTok, which is
show me your ass. That's what TikTok.
Yeah, basically, like here's a dance, do some fun dancing to it. But like at the end of the day, like now they've actually expanded into longer format. But even that is like very abbreviated format at the 3-minute time frame, you know. So it's that attention span the world over is getting much shorter, and I think people are expecting more quick connection. You know, I think a 4 to 5 season show is much more bingeable, which is how most people are watching now, versus like an 8 season show where someone's like, that's a long commitment, you know.
I mean, I look at it as like, okay, what's the age range of the shows that they're putting out? And I think a lot of these shows nowadays, less and less people are watching like CBS, NBC, like that stuff, and they're more watching like Netflix and Amazon shows. And I obviously don't know, but how many of those shows? I mean, like SVU, how many teens watch SVU? Is it a lot? I would assume it's like
I almost
middle.
feel like
I feel like it's something that just like comes on TV and they kind of watch it. Like at least that's how like every SVU episode I've seen was my mom was watching it, and then
that's what I'm saying.
There. And I was like, it's this show again. Like,
yeah, but that's what I'm saying. I think the demographics are like the shows that an older crowd, and older meaning me, I watch it, but I think it's just more people like that stay tuned, you know, to those shows, because my mom still watches TV shows, you know, and I feel like the younger crowd just doesn't have time to watch TV shows. You know, they watch Netflix when they're sitting and chilling. But
yeah, I mean, it's the new generation is a very much like what's it called? Instantaneous satisfaction. Satisfaction. That's what it is.
Yeah.
You know, with Netflix and YouTube and even TikTok.
Yeah.
You know, it's
what's your take on TikTok, by the way? Not say you have to shit on it, but like, do you enjoy the creation for TikTok?
Well, no, TikTok. I mean, social media to me is all the same thing. But yeah, TikTok. It was made. I mean, it was made by a Chinese company, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And so it kind of. I'm not sure who started it first, but the For You page. Is that TikTok? I'm trying to correct.
Yeah, that's TikTok. Yeah,
it's TikTok or Douyin. Douyin is what the original one is called from China.
Okay.
I have an account on there, and that's how I know. That's how I know. Like, I was like, oh wow, this is pretty much the same thing. It is. It's actually it's the same thing but better. So the version in China is like actually better than the one in America because you have more filters and stuff that you can use.
And that usually happens.
Yeah.
America steals shit or takes shit and they just don't do
no,
it.
Dude, China does the same thing.
Yeah.
Everyone steals stuff from each other. Like, it's not, you know,
that's true.
Everyone steals everything. So it's not, you know, no one's a good guy. No one's like a true good guy.
No.
But so yeah, with what was I going with this? Oh yeah, the For You page. So I don't know. Yeah, I don't know who invented it, but TikTok for sure is the most famous one where you get instant gratification of what you want to see.
Yeah.
Like that. And that's what the new media is really. Netflix, you get instant gratification with whatever you want. Whether that's a good thing, and we'll see. You know, with kids and with people's like emotions, we'll see. But it's a new way of entertainment, and very interesting to see it all kind of play out.
Yeah.
I don't really know my opinion on it. I mean, I was posting for a bit, but then I started getting so focused onto creating. So for me, in that sense of that's not ADD. That's just being like super focused on something.
Yeah.
But when I focus on one thing, then I can't do the other thing. So I can't multitask. That's what I'm like the worst at multitasking.
I mean, everyone's bad at multitasking. The people who do better because of it realize that they shouldn't be multitasking. Like, they tell you in any sort of like efficiency, like training or anything where you're trying to get better at your job, they're like, first thing everyone tells you is like, don't multitask. Like, you may think you can, but you can't. Right. And all you do is you fuck up two things instead of doing one good thing.
You just do a bad job with both of those things.
Exactly.
Yeah, so for me, I knew my shows were starting up in July. Hopefully, if everything goes right with the world. But so I was like, I was on social media a lot, and then I was like, I probably should stop it. Start focusing, and take this time that I have and create, because I know how long it takes to create a new act. For me, at least, it takes so long. Like Dream Act took me 2 years to be happy with it. Yeah. So I'm very picky with what I like to create. I'm very picky with what I put in my act. I'm very picky with the music. That's probably the pickiest part of it all. And then I also know how long it takes to like synchronize everything together. So I was like, I gotta take a break from social media because I need to focus on this. So yeah. But yeah, I think social media. Oh yeah, no, go ahead.
It's a great way to just like divert your energy away from what you should be doing.
Yes.
Once you dive into social media, that you're kind of stuck in that tunnel, you know.
I think that's where the ADHD comes from. It's good because I can easily just go away. Because it's very easy. I don't know if you guys noticed, but I literally just stopped posting like that.
Yeah.
Like, are you okay? Are you something wrong? I'm like, yeah, no, everything's fine. I'm just now focusing on creating new apps.
That's good though, man. That's really good to do because so many people fight with social media to get away from it, you know, for you to be able to just flip the switch and be like, nah, that's not what I'm doing now. I'm sure people are envious of that.
People have this like withdrawal.
Yeah.
That's what I've been told. They have like withdrawals, and I'm like, I don't think that's a good thing to have.
No, God, no, it's not a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm like, I don't think that's a good thing. You guys probably shouldn't have that feeling. If you are having that, then, you know.
Yeah, I mean, that's where we see that instant gratification. That's what it really is it's an endorphin and dopamine reaction. and then you get people basically hooked on it. Like the crazy thing about it too is like long term, and this is obviously something they have to study on more, but like long term, what could end up happening because of that is your body produces less of the hormones which make you happy and excited because you've almost overloaded at a young age. What's up?
Is it dopamine? Is that what they call it?
I think it's dopamine. Yeah.
Dopamine.
And like, and like if you're getting that so consistently, you need more and more. Right. You need higher doses to get the same
time or whatever.
Yeah. And eventually your body
young kids. Well, we'll figure it out.
Well,
it was so funny. I regarding dopamine actually. So me and Casey have been very isolated in the house, during quarantine. I've been creating, so I don't even care to go out. But then we got our vaccines and everything, and so we went out for the first time. I think it was last week. To go watch David Copperfield, and I was so, because I've already seen a show so many times before, and so when you watch a magic show, even my show or anyone's show, especially magic, because magic is a lot like a film, and when you watch a film for the second time, you already know the ending, so it's the same thing, and so, but because I hadn't had that dopamine release in such a long time, I went to Copperfield's show and I was so mesmerized by everything. Even though I had seen the show, I think about 5 times already. Oh, wow. I was so mesmerized just by everything, by seeing another human being, by the lights, the props. Yeah, I couldn't help myself but just stand up and clap because it was just so amazing. It was very interesting to see that. I hadn't like experienced that in such a long time.
That's cool.
So, yeah,
especially when you can go and appreciate something that you've already seen, like it's new.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it was like seeing it like the first time. It was so like interesting. I could even like feel my brain being like, oh yeah, this dopamine hasn't been released in a long time, man.
I need to live performances. Yeah, no, for sure, dude. This is gonna sound stupid, but I have never seen a magic show live.
Oh,
yeah.
You gotta come watch my show then.
I'm gonna, man. That's gonna be the first show I see. But yeah, it's crazy. So I have no idea what to expect, So it's
well, have you been to like a concert or anything?
Dude, I'm a concert photographer. So I've probably been to 1,000 concert shows.
Yeah. Steve's gonna cry at your show for sure.
No, I don't cry. I don't cry at shows. It's funny because I have 2 modes. I have work mode and I have enjoy mode. When I'm working and I'm shooting, I don't know what goes on. I just, it's probably like, I guess in the zone. You don't know what happened. You're just paying attention to everything and making sure you get your shots and everything. And then when you put the camera down and you watch the show, it's 100% different. It's totally different. So. It's it'll be cool to see the show, obviously as a first time, and actually enjoying the show, because normally when I go to a show I don't enjoy it because I'm shooting it.
Well, not Vegas. I mean, and not just my show. There's so many shows in Vegas that you can watch, and that Cirque shows are pretty good. Cirque shows are I recommend Ka. I really like Ka, and O is good too. But of course, there's so many magic shows here you can watch too in Vegas.
Yeah, so I saw Dre Leon. I saw Ka.
Yeah. Oh, you've seen Ka?
Yeah, I've seen Ka. I've seen Dre Leon. Okay. I think those are the only 2 Cirque shows I've seen.
Yeah, but there's so many magic shows here. I didn't realize how many magic shows there were in Vegas until like moved here, and I was like, wow, this is practically a magic town. Like it's made for magic. Pretty crazy. Yeah, and it's good.
A lot of people live there. A lot of magicians.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. We talk to people that are like, oh yeah, I'm in Vegas. And we're like, geez, there's a lot of magicians in Vegas.
Cool. Yeah, it's cool. I like it. I mean, it's like if you need an invisible deck, and be like, hey, you got an invisible deck? I need an invisible deck. Can I come pick it up?
It's on your desk. It's invisible. You can't see it. See what I did there? Speaking of decks, before we forget, I know, right?
Before we forget, why don't we do the deck sniffs, since Steve was going to bring that up there and we're talking about decks.
Yeah.
So just to give a little bit of background on it, in episode 10, which is far, far away from this point now, we had a good friend of ours, Stu, Courier Stu in the community. Stu is known within the community for sniffing and eating decks of cards. Absolutely amazing guy. Honestly, one of my favorite people in the playing card community. And when he came on the show, he actually threw 3 decks of cards in a bag, blindfolded himself, and was able to sniff and identify the manufacturer of each deck of cards,
Nice.
which was astounding. And so since then, we've always done a deck sniff because we found a good amount of people sniff decks, and then there's a whole bunch of people who think it's the weirdest thing in the world, and we like to give everyone the experience of sniffing a deck of cards.
Cool.
So
yeah, I've never done it. I don't think it's weird though. I just, of course, decks of cards must have a smell.
They do, and it varies too, which is interesting. Some of them are passable, some of them are good, some of them are bad. So what are you going to be sniffing today?
So Casey gave me 2 decks over here. I've been playing around with this, so it doesn't count. So I have unopened light regalia.
Nice.
Awesome.
I already know like what they kind of smell like because I've played around with these cards for so long. But I haven't actually really. I always have the black one. This is the white one, so I don't usually.
Now, is that the old printed version or the new printed version?
So this is the print. The white ones were the new ones.
Okay.
The black ones were the like OG, and those were the best ones. Those ones like sold out in 2 seconds. They're great.
Okay.
They're now no longer available at all. So.
Right.
Right, the new version. Yeah, with the V2 boxes. These ones.
The V2 boxes. That's the cool thing. So the old version is printed on the old Catamundi stock.
Oh, the C9.
The C9,
Nice.
the true linen stock.
Yeah.
And then this, obviously your new version is printed on Slimline. So it's cool to actually see both versions. Obviously the tuck is a little different, but the cards.
The cards are thinner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not kidding, folks, but it's the new version. I remember Jairus was telling me, he's like, oh yeah, this new version's thinner. You like it?
Yeah.
I think I do like it. Yeah, it's thinner, so.
How's it smell?
But I prefer thinner playing cards.
Nice.
It smells like well, so I also eat cards. As you guys so I know what they taste like.
You can go ahead and eat it if you want. I don't know if you want to eat a Catamundi card, but
oh no. Well, I don't eat it, but I have it folded in my mouth.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I know what they taste like for sure.
Yeah.
USPCC definitely tastes a little bit better.
Yeah, it smells different from Bicycle because I have smelled Bicycle before.
Yeah, Bicycle's a little more earthy because of the glue and the like sustainability aspects of it, which I think is always interesting.
It smells like cellophane. And I think because it's individually wrapped in cellophane.
Right.
Yeah.
That's probably why. So that's not a very fair critique.
Now, do you like Catamundi better than USPCC? The feel of it, or like the new Catamundi?
They are different. How do I say this? I think I'm gonna have to get used to Catamundi in order for me to use it in my live performances. I know that the quality is probably just as good. I can work around. I can do all the same slides that I do with Bicycle with Catamundi. So it's not like they are one's quality better than the other. It's just a type of like I guess I'm old or whatever, so I can't. I'm just so used to using Bicycle. I've used Bicycle all my life.
Yeah,
and I feel the most comfortable with Bicycle. I haven't performed actually ever with Catamundi in terms of like really tough sleight of hand. I haven't done that in like a real live performance. I've done it like practicing, and it does everything. It does all. I can do everything that I do with Bicycle. It's just I think it has to do with psychology thing.
Yeah.
I mean, part of it
paper
too,
is a lot thinner too.
Yeah, it does react differently. I mean, you got to figure it bends differently. The thickness is a little bit different. So, like, I'm sure that's probably easy enough stuff to get used to. But
this one though, the new version is very similar to Bicycle, I would say.
Okay.
Like the snapback is pretty spot on. The only difference, there's a big difference, is the you can see the lines. They don't look anything like bicycle. Like you can clearly tell it's not
The air
bicycle.
cushion.
And then, yeah. But in terms of like fans, which is mostly the stuff that I do, like and your cuts, like they do those things. They split to the cards, which is great. Actually, they're easier to split than bicycle.
Wow.
Nice.
Yeah.
That is interesting.
Yeah, it is.
They just come right apart.
Huh, that's interesting.
Yeah. So, yeah, no, it does everything. I think I would say though, DL, I probably prefer doing a DL with bicycle than with Harmon. I'm just doing.
And again though, that's preference right there. Thank you, Mark. We appreciate the support, man.
Thank you, Mark. I can't play the fight song for you because I don't have my soundboard. Thank God.
Yeah, it's like also. Polar Knight just commented, "Sweet Jesus." I feel like we get this comment a lot recently when we have someone who's clean shaven on the show. It's like it's the perfect evolution of beards. I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah, but Shin beats us in the hairdo. That's for damn sure.
Oh my God, yeah.
I actually tried to grow out my little mustache during quarantine.
That's a year and a half. That's a year and a half right there.
I wanted to go for like the Fu Manchu look. That was my goal.
Nice.
It never turned out to look anything like that. I just looked like a pedophile or something.
I think you shaved it then. You don't need to be on a stage show like a pedophile.
Shin's coming back from his social media hiatus looking like a pedophile.
Had people worried when you left. Now they think that you've been in jail the whole time. Oh,
yeah.
Now, do you have a name for your new act?
Yeah, so I have two acts. And one of them I haven't figured out a name for it yet, but then the main one that I really, this is the very difficult one, is called Regret.
Oh, nice.
Interesting.
Act. Regret act. Like dream.
All right.
52 Shades act. I always put act next to it. I don't know why. I feel like I have to. So
it's very like a classic.
Yeah,
it
makes it like professional sounding, and official.
It almost reminds me of like Tarantino movies, like Kill Bill. When it's always like act. Like, granted, he doesn't name the acts necessarily, but it's always like act one. Yeah, exactly. Like there's always that vibe to it where it's like this is the definitive like container of this portion of the movie here or whatever. So I like how much inspiration you seem to take from cinematography.
Regret act is fully inspired by the chaos of 2020 and 2021.
Interesting.
Yeah,
very interesting.
Yeah,
that was where the entire act was inspired from, and you'll see it if you ever get to see it.
I will.
Hopefully, I finish making it. I really hope. I mean, it's done, but it's really hard. It's difficult, like sleight of hand wise. It's probably it is the most difficult act I have ever created. So
wow.
I hope I can perform in the show properly without messing up. It's going to be tough. So.
Now, when does, because the show goes live July 1st, right?
Mm-hmm.
When do you start getting into the theater to practice on stage? Because that's like different than practicing in your house, right?
Should be about 10 days from now.
Oh, cool.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And what do you have, like a week beforehand, or?
Pretty much.
Wow.
Pretty much. I think 13 days or something like that before. Yeah, 13 days.
Yeah.
So
now, can you just?
But yeah, when we go to the theater, it's literally going to be lighting. It has nothing to do with like actually like practicing on stage. It's literally good. We're gonna sit down in the theater and take days to light the entire theater. So because it's a whole new like layout. So before, what happened was Terry Fader was in the theater while I was performing previously at the Mirage, and so he had his old set design, which was cool, and but we couldn't touch anything. Like we had to. We had to work around it, so that was a big issue for Magic, as you can probably tell, because like you're not allowed to touch this, you're not allowed to touch that, so I'm like constricted in such a tiny little area. So I was forced to do like acts that I probably wouldn't usually want to do, but I had to do it anyways. So yeah, we have to relight the entire scene, the entire stage now with new set design, which is cool. Like, and it's the set design that I want. But
cool. So you have creative control all you want.
Oh yeah. Well, some not all of it, because we have to comply with Mirage's.
Yeah,
I won't go into detail, but yeah.
I hear you. I hear you.
Yeah.
Every venue has rules. Let's just say. And
yes. Yeah. We have to
can't
comply
always
with the
do what
Mirage
you
rules
want,
and regulations. That's
regardless. You know, and a lot of
Yeah.
people don't understand that. Yes, it is your show, but
Yeah.
ultimately they are your boss, so to speak.
It's
you know?
yeah, they are my boss, and it's
Yeah.
their space that we have to comply with. So
Right.
it was the past 2 weeks has been very stressful. We have to redo something, so it was very very last minute, very like shocking, but we'll get over it.
Yeah, and that's the whole
but
thing
yeah,
that
so
sucks
it's-
about venues.
Yeah, I mean it's whatever.
Yeah.
It's fine. It's not the end of the world. There's worse things that are happening right now.
So someone
So-
had actually asked earlier, and this kind of ties into this a little bit, and kind of the getting ready for your performance side of things. You know, being so particular about building out your act with the music, with the choreography of it all. Do you ever find that you put so much into the actual preparation and planning that it's not as enjoyable on the back end, or do you finally feel like you have kind of a masterpiece you've created, and that in itself is the enjoyment there?
It's two different types of enjoyment. They're totally separate. It's not as performing and creating to me are like two completely different things.
Okay.
So for performing is feel that type of what I was talking about before, where you feel something.
Yeah.
And you get inspired while you're performing. You know, you feel the audience energy. You feel the energy of the entire space. You feel the energy of yourself. It's almost like a meditative type of thing. And then you're acting. Everyone's an actor when they're performing, you know, so you have to believe the role you're playing. You have to believe the setup. You have to believe the climax. You have to believe the crescendo. You have to believe everything, because if you believe it, then the audience is going to believe it. So it's this type of acting, type of character. And of course you got to be, you know, if you mess up something, you got to be on the spot and figure out how to fix it. And then for me, I have to fix it and then speed up to match my timing and synchro. So it's that type of performance circus sleight of hand thing. And then creating is very much so like a mad scientist type of vibe, where you're inventing something new, you know, and it's like you're experimenting. It's a lot of experimenting. You know, anyone that says they don't experiment when they're creating a new act, I don't think they're creating then if they're not experimenting, because you have to experiment new concepts. There's no way that you can not create something new, because if you don't create a new like, for example, let's just say you're doing an act with let's say you do a multiple reveal act, right, where you tell them to think of a place, you tell them to think of, let's say, one of the 50 states, and then you tell them to think of, I don't know, the time and place, date, and then all of a sudden you reveal it. It's like, oh, you see, it was written here the entire time. Oh, and playing card. They think of a playing card, and oh, it turns out it's the 8 of hearts, the card that you're thinking of. So, you know, a lot of people, when they have that process, and then they think of a storyline. They have a new storyline that they put into it. That's not new, you know. That's just, you're just putting patter or whatever to a trick that's not even like, it's not something that is different enough to call like this is a brand new act. Like it needs to have that concept. The concept needs to be totally different. It has not. Okay, sorry. I think I was speaking incorrectly. It has nothing to do with the pattern. It has nothing to do with the story that you're telling. Anyone can tell a story. You know, right. I'm talking about overall storyline. That has nothing to do with the creative side of magic. The creative side of magic has to do with experimenting a new concept, like a brand new concept.
Right.
Yeah.
So, for example, 52 Shades of Red, right? With I won't say it, but BA. I'm sure you guys know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So that in itself isn't And that isn't really BA as a theme isn't like it's everyone knows what it is, you know, everyone does it. But when you apply it in a different way that no one's really done before, all of a sudden it's a new concept of applying a BA, which is something.
Yeah.
It's a trick that a lot of people use, and you just apply it to a completely different way. Now that's something new. So that's the experimental part of it all. That's the important part of creating. The storyline of everything, like pattern, whatever, that's the acting side. See?
Yeah, for sure.
It's totally different, and I think that people get that confused a lot of the time. So that's something that any of the younger magicians out there, like if you're trying to create something, because a lot of people ask me like, oh, like how do you create Dream Act, for example. I never start with the storyline, because what that does is it distracts you from creating a new concept. See, if you have a storyline, like let's say, the car jumping from the middle of the deck to the top, it's supposed to symbolize this and this and this, and it has to do with the story of when I was young and blah, 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 whatever the story is. It distracts you from creating and experimenting, because now what you're going to do is when you're trying to come up with a method for it, you're going to immediately think of the plot and the story first and the pattern.
Right. That makes sense.
And you'll always try to create the method for that rather than just the method alone.
Yeah.
And then creating the story afterwards.
Exactly. Because when you're creating just the method alone, you're allowing yourself to really go in different directions. And that's the most important thing, because nothing is set in stone. Nothing.
Right.
Life is set in stone. And you have to always be okay with changing things, including a concept. And that's the great part about experimenting, because when you allow these things to happen, you jump from one idea to the next idea. Now all of a sudden, the trick looks totally different, which is okay. Yeah. Then you can change. Anyone can change the story. Your storyline can change, unless it's based on a true story. Then you're restricted in that sense.
Because what does true mean?
But if it's a story that has to do with fantasy or something, just let it wait. Let it put that in the back burner. You have that story, and then you create the concept first.
Right.
And then that's I believe how is the easiest way to create something, because
it doesn't limit you.
Able to really doesn't limit you. Yeah. So and because I have a lot of young kid fans who ask me that all the time. That's my best advice for you guys, because you can create with having the story first and then creating the concept, but you need to be like really good. Like I don't even do that. That's hard. I find that really. I know some people do that and they can, but they're like really experienced magicians. I can't do that. It's tough. It's not easy. It's not easy to write down what you want to do on paper and then do it.
Yeah.
It's not. It's almost close to impossible, I would say. Yeah. And you have a lot of people who I'm gonna make the apple appear and then it's gonna disappear. I'm gonna da 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 da. Like it's, and then they have the whole thing written out, like their entire plot line of what's gonna happen. And they haven't even come up with a method for anything.
And then they create the method after that.
Exactly, and that is where a lot of people trip a lot of the time, because you're setting yourself up for failure essentially. And it's it sounds so cliche, but it's true. Yeah. I'm not going to move on. I don't know what else to say about that. I'm just like.
No, I mean it's an interesting approach though, and especially like you said, especially when you're beginning in the idea of creating methods, like that should be your primary focus. Again, pattern and story could change from day to day. Also, I think that's one of the other things about it too, is like you could take the same method and deploy it differently across the course of a week. I mean, you look at some of these like busking magicians, like they're doing the same.
Oh, they change their pattern all the time.
100%. It's all situational.
Scenario, they always situational. Exactly. Yeah. But what's the core that holds it all together, right? That's exactly what holds everything together. It's a lot like sleight of hand. I always say that, people always ask me, like, they're like, oh, Shin, why don't you only do sleight of hand? And I say, well, we're doing magic at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Magic is sleight of hand. Magic is presentation. Magic is everything. So you do everything, not just sleight of hand. However, sleight of hand is a great grounding. It's a great basis to have. I believe everyone should have pure sleight of hand in their arsenal, because if you're just using apparatus, it's not, people can feel it. People can feel that you don't have that grounding. It's the same as piano, really. If you don't have that classical training of scales that you practice for 8 hours a day, people can tell that you haven't done that, or you haven't been practicing your chord progressions. Like, people can tell that you didn't practice that. So with magic, it's the same thing. Sleight of hand, you need to have a really strong grounding in that it really supports everything else. Yeah. And so so people are, I think a lot of magicians make this mistake of being too extreme on one side or the other. Apparatus. Oh, I only use apparatus because it's the most magical. Oh no, I only do sleight of hand, pure sleight of hand, because that's just what you should do. You can't do anything else. You can only use the Deckin cards. And so you're kind of holding yourself back. You're shooting yourself in the foot, or whatever the saying is, because it's everything. Magic is everything. Whatever it takes for you to do your job, to make that spectator feel that 1 second of unexpectedness that the scary movie does as well. That's your job. And if you don't do that, then you failed at your job. So and you need to have that grounding, of everything. Yeah,
it's interesting because I think obviously with YouTube and Instagram and all this stuff, there's a lot of magicians, whether it's old, new, doesn't matter. I think there's definitely these pockets, and it happens in any community. I've said it millions of times, whether it's rock climbing or jiu-jitsu or whatever. It's like the old school versus the new school, right? It's like a lot of newer school magicians are brought into this world on TikTok. So a lot of the stuff that they're learning is that the gadgetry, is like the stuff that they can do on TikTok, those gimmicks and magic tricks, the draw tricks, the ones that you end up putting in your draw after a few uses, you know what I mean? But it's like, I definitely think
know what that is, though, I think?
Well,
so you said newer magicians on TikTok, right? I think that's a great thing, because sounds a lot like me when I first started. I'll tell you, when I first started, I first started with some sleight of hand, but the moment I found out about apparatus, I was like, yo, this is crazy. So I bought everything. I bought everything from Penguin Magic. I spent I remember I would beg my mother for your credit card, because I just thought, I saw everything on Penguin. I was like, yo, this is crazy. I can do this. This is crazy. This is so much better than sleight of hand. Which that's how I first got fascinated in magic. But everyone has this journey of finding these toys, and they play with it, and then they realize they don't really work as well as they thought. But it doesn't matter, because I think that's the journey of magic that so many people have, including myself.
I think 100%. Like, so I have a friend. His name's Chris, and he literally buys everything. He does sleight of hand as well, but he buys a lot of apparatus, like you say, gimmicks and stuff like that. But I think another reason why it's really good is you learn how they're made, so to speak. You learn how, if something breaks, you learn how to fix it.
Learn how they work.
You learn how they work.
You learn how to put it together. You learn why it works.
Right. And it allows you to be creative down the road when you are, if you are going that creative route and you want to become your own magician, like a performing magician or something like that, and you want to create your own stuff. It allows you to kind of tap into all of those things that you've seen, how they're built, how to fix them, and all that stuff. And it allows you to create your own stuff,
That's right. No, it's almost like almost like learning how a cell phone works or something, you know, like you take it apart and you're like, whoa, this is cool. The chip does this, the M1 chip does that. It's like that. I think when you're getting all these things as a kid or younger, or not even if you start a magician older, you know, there's so many magicians I know that start older as well, but they still have the same appreciation.
Yeah.
They all like, it's fun. These toys are fun and it's great. And it's great to see that the kids are picking it up on TikTok.
Yeah.
No, I mean,
is that what's going on right now? I haven't been on TikTok for literally a year, I think, so I don't even know.
Yeah, a lot of
the format for TikTok is more conducive towards like apparatus, just because you have a short period of time. You have to have that quick kind of build up and you know, kind of climax there. It's very hard to do if you're laying out a lot of pattern, building all this out. Like I'm starting to see a little bit more variation on it and interesting ways of people doing like street magician.
Yeah, I was going to say Jason.
Jason does like ring magic and ball magic on there as well, and a lot of other different types, steering more away from gimmicks because he's a busking magician. So again, for him, like that fast-paced magic comes natural to him. But I think again, for a lot of people first getting introduced in it, they want the biggest wow factor for the least amount of effort. And that just comes in from what you can pick up on. Yeah. And it makes sense though, because again, that's actually not a bad thing necessarily, because if they do get that positive reaction, hopefully that gets them more interested in magic for a longer term versus, passing by as like a short hobby. So, I mean, we'll see how it all evolves.
I see so many younger kids getting into magic, which is great. It's such a relieving thing to see because you kind of, you get scared, you know, for the future of magic, and you wonder whether or not the younger generation will take it or not. You know, or whether they think it's stupid. So I'm glad to see it. Whether you know, people complain all the time, like, oh, these kids these days are not doing a good job, blah blah blah. But I don't know. I think it's. I don't care.
It's different.
If there's the younger generations picking it up, that's all that matters, because then our forms survive.
They have to start somewhere, right?
Yeah.
Like we have people like Mateo, who's in the chat right now, and kid's like 13 years old. Sorry if I
I think he's 12.
Age you? I think it's 13 now. I might be mistaken, but dude, super creative. You know, he makes puppets. He like makes his own gimmicks. And, like
the creation side of it's strong with it.
It's definitely crazy, but I think it has to come from something, you know, and you don't know how those gimmicks are made unless you are buying tutorials, you're buying gimmicks, you're buying things that you can see how
and unless you mess up, you gotta mess up. You gotta make the dumb posts on the internet showing up, hey, check out my new trick I created. And it's I remember this so funny. I did this was when I first started. I would film myself trying to be like David Blaine, because obviously I watched them all the time on YouTube. So I'm like, I'm going to do some street magic. So I put on like sunglasses and I would perform for people. Where was it? It was in Boston. It was
nice.
Faneuil Hall. Was it there? I mean,
nice, Faneuil Hall.
No, I don't know if it was there or not. It was close by there, and actually, it probably was there. And I would do like street magic, and my neighbor would film, and my younger brother would be there too. Actually, so and I remember it was just so cringy, but it's a place where you learn, and then it's great, because then you watch it back and then you realize how dumb it looked, and then you're like, okay.
The best way to learn is through failure. I mean,
especially through video.
Yeah, I mean, success doesn't teach the same lesson as failure. Success teaches you that you did something right. Failure teaches you where you did something wrong, so you can evolve. So no one comes out of the gate.
Anytime I show someone my act, I say, I never ask them. I'm never like, don't tell me what you liked about it, because that's not going to do anything. Just tell me what you didn't like about it.
Dude, 100%. I mean, and that's one of the toughest things for people, though, too. Getting people giving constructive feedback where things didn't work or whatever. Like, that's one of the toughest things for people, because we all want people to like us. And so getting over that, like, initial, like, oh, that was great, to be able to actually give constructive feedback is difficult. But it's good that you are like specifically like, I don't care what you liked. Give me the bad stuff. Like, that's how you got it.
Casey's the best at giving criticism. She knows exactly what is wrong with something. She'll know immediately what's wrong within a moment.
That's awesome.
And that's the thing. I have actually the hardest time trying to figure out what's wrong with something. I really do. Yeah. So if you don't ever ask me you're putting on an act or something, because I'll never be able to pinpoint exactly what's wrong with it.
Yeah.
Casey, on the other hand, is really good at that. So she's very good to show an act to, and
that's where I think
she knows. Yeah.
I think that's where the different, and I'm not saying you're not a great teacher, but I think that's where a lot of kind of instructors and teachers come from. It's like you can have amazing, magicians, musicians, whatever, it doesn't matter. But not everybody can actually see those incorrect things and show you how to change them, and I think that just
for me, I have such a hard time putting it into words too. Like I'd have to watch the act like at least 20 times to then be like, oh, okay, it's that one thing right there. So yeah, but in terms of you have to be able to take criticism too. That's
100%.
Yes,
you need to be able to take it and not get so. Some people get so like defensive about it.
Yeah.
No, what are you talking about? Oh, what do you know? I did this because of this reason. I didn't do that because it was bad. I had to do it because of blah blah blah. So there's always there's always a reason for something.
That's ego for you, right?
Sure, I guess so. But no, well, I don't know, ego, whatever. But you need to be able to take it if you want to be better.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like ego is the part of you that says that gets defensive.
The world of
don't
like
want to feel
feedback,
bad.
though, like the whole feedback issue is tough because you got to figure too. There's two ways this can go, and I can see where people can get defensive. If you ask for feedback and then get defensive, you're just clowning yourself because you literally asked for it. But there's also the whole other side of it where you get unsolicited, though potentially helpful feedback. But if it's unsolicited, but if it's unsolicited, people's natural reaction is to get defensive. And in those situations, that's the person who's giving the feedback needing to be cognizant of the fact that they didn't ask for feedback. Like,
it depends because the person that's giving it might not be.
Yeah, it might not be the best person to give that feedback. Yeah,
exactly. They might not be legit. There might be some comment on YouTube, and there's so many trolls. And I don't mean it in like I'm not trying to say it in like a Trump way. Like I'm trying to say like I'm being serious. Like they're actually like robots. Like I'm not even joking. Like they're actually like not real like people. Like there's just so much unsolicited, like you said. There's so much fake stuff out there, comments out there right now.
100%.
And so it's when you ask for criticism, you can ask like a mass group of people, but the people that you really listen to, you need to make sure that they have your best intentions.
Yeah, and they're capable of
answering. You got to exactly.
Yeah,
like it's not like your parents or your brother or your sister, someone that who actually cares for you. That really wants you to succeed. Because sometimes you'll ask another magician and they're just like, oh, I don't like this guy, so I'm just gonna
right. Yeah.
Some BS thing to improve on.
That's the competitive manner of magic, right?
Exactly. Yeah. You gotta make sure you ask from someone that really cares about you and really wants you to succeed. Because like when I first started, I would always ask my mom and my dad. And that's literally and my brothers, and my neighbor, and that was it. That was it actually. That no one else. Before I went to FISM, I didn't show anybody my act. Nothing. I didn't because like where can you perform Dream Act? You can't perform it at a restaurant. You can't do table hopping. I'm like, oh here, let's just put this pyramid right over here. I'm just gonna lay this mat out 1 second. Okay, let me just. Do you mind taking this card here and put this plastic bag over here? Like it just doesn't work for that scenario. It's just so awkward.
Right.
So the only place I could perform it was in front of my parents, and so that's how you get the best constructive feedback from people like that.
Yeah. Now, which act or routine have you done for them that got the best response, and which one got the worst response?
It was if it got none of the acts that I do perform. So the one that got the worst response actually was when I had lost FISM in 2012. So I went to FISM twice.
Okay.
And those of you who don't know FISM, it's kind of like the Olympics of magic. Every 4 years, magicians kind of get together.
You want close up. You want close up category, right?
Cards category.
Cards, okay.
Which is in close up, but they specify it's a card. It's almost like the like in the Olympics when they have like 200-meter butterfly.
Yeah.
But even though like butterfly as a whole, there's 100-meter, 200 meters. So
Right.
it's like that. I won in cards. So, but in 2012 in Black White, I lost. So I was very, and at that time in my life, I was, because I found out about the carpal tunnel with my wrist. So it was very like tough time in my life. So I was very irrational with my way of thinking. So when I had lost, I decided, I was like, oh, maybe this whole music synchronizing thing isn't working. I should try it. Maybe I need to be funny. Like maybe I need to make jokes and stuff. I was being serious, like I wasn't even kidding at the time.
Yeah.
And so I had created a comedic version of Dream Act.
Oh wow!
I showed it to my mom, and she's like, "Absolutely not! Throw that away. That's disgusting. Who are you trying to be?"
That's funny.
Oh, dude. And you know what? You know
So
when your
that's-
mom
that's
tells
the
you to, like, she's not telling you just to be mean. She means she has your best interest at heart. So
Yeah, and I'm like, "What are you talking about?" I'm like, "This is a totally new version. No one's seen a comedy version of this." And she's like, "No, absolutely not. That's not who you are." So, and at the time, I was like, "No, screw you, mom." Whatever.
Back before you knew when your moms are always right.
yeah, absolutely.
That's for damn sure. When
Oh,
we're younger, we're like, whatever you say, mom. And then when we get older, we're like, damn, I should have listened to my mom.
yeah, dude, it's always how it goes. There's always people we should be listening to in life that we don't, and also though that's part of the learning. You know,
Yeah.
if you listen to everyone who told you the good advice, you wouldn't have the hardship that makes it stick. So
I want to see that comedic version of Dream Act.
I feel like Shin's gonna take that to the grave. Yeah.
Well, it was because it was very influenced by. Well, I love David Stone.
Right.
No, David Stone. Yeah, he's
I
amazing.
do not, but
inspired me a lot because it was actually the first DVD I got was David Stone's Real Secrets to Magic. Which I'm so glad I got that because there's so much trash out there. You know? So I can't imagine if I got the trash. But no, I got David Stone's DVD, which is perfect.
nice.
And his style of comedy, I love that. So it was like that. But it's not me at all. You know, I can't do that. David can do that because David is a beast at that type of vibe of magic. Because he's very quick with his body actions, and that's not me naturally. I'm like a sloth when it comes to body movement. Very slow.
That's funny. Mateo wants to know what DVD of David Stone's.
No, he said, "What's a DVD?" I think he's just ripping at us for being old. Steve's old and can't read. So
No, I looked really fast and I didn't see the. I was like, "What DVD?" Sorry.
Oh,
Little
geez.
shiny
Well, DVD
disc.
is a disc. We put it inside the computer. No, put it inside the
computer.
PlayStation.
DVD play, PlayStation 2. There you go.
Yeah,
Dude,
yeah.
I can't. You know what though? I know he's full of shit though, because there's still DVDs for sale on Murphy's Magic. So,
Bro, like seriously. Like we get reviews and hey, we are so thankful. Thank you, Murphy's, for sending us stuff to review.
but the fact that they still produce DVDs
we get
for some stuff
DVDs
is crazy.
sometimes, and we're like, we don't have a DVD player.
Yeah,
Like, you want me to review it? It's a pretty DVD. Looks great. The box looks awesome.
I like the picture on the front.
Like the picture on the front is a little old, but other than that, DVD looks good.
And they cost a lot to make too.
Oh my god,
Yeah.
yeah.
They do.
Yeah.
It's $2 for the DVD and the DVD box.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
Like it's
and like the production
very
value is the
good.
same as a download, but your download's instant. You can take it anywhere. Like there's so much. Yeah, I'm hoping that they'll start pushing back on that and being like, no, we're not going to make this a DVD. Yes, it's going to be a 9-hour download, but it's going to be a download because it's better for everyone. You have more accessibility and you probably have better reach with it too. Nowadays, people are like, what am I going to do with the DVD?
I think the reason why it's the DVDs is because of the torrenting stuff.
Yeah.
The sharing.
Yeah.
The illegal sharing of files. It's hard to do that with DVD, even though it's not that difficult. You just take it out of the file. But
Which, I can rip a DVD in 15 minutes.
Exactly.
The funny thing is, I have to say, one of the best platforms I've seen, not that, we're not getting paid to say this, one of the best platforms I've seen for preventing piracy is Vimeo. Vimeo's private videos,
I've heard of this.
you basically have to like screen record it
Yeah.
which means that you have to watch the entire thing. So if you had like a 3-hour tutorial on Vimeo, I can't just go in and download it. I have to go screen record, and then I have to be able to crop it a little bit and take out any artifacting and stuff like that. Like it's a process. So it's crazy to see. Yeah, I was actually surprised by that because most platforms where they tout that no one's gonna be able to download a video, it's a load of shit. It's just a little bit of extra legwork, but Vimeo actually does a really good job with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, Vimeo's solid. But also the great thing about streaming is, and I wish because I have a couple of products out there, that some I'm not very proud of, but and the reason why is because it's a DVD. And there's once you print how 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 DVDs, that's a lot of money. That's like $8,000 worth of DVDs that you just spent, right?
Right.
And you can't change that. Whereas streaming, you can change it. Let's say you made a mistake during filming the tutorial, which I do so many times. I make so many mistakes because I don't know why. I am a terrible teacher. But I film it. I made a mistake, but then it was too late because we already printed the DVD. See, now with streaming, I'm like, oh, sweet. I can just change it now. I just refilm, go back, and it doesn't cost me anything. So, yeah, DVDs are glad they're not a thing anymore. To be honest.
Yeah, no, it's definitely
much happier. I'm much happier with streaming.
Yeah.
Well, and I think in this day and age too, you especially look at like the reach of Magic across the world in a lot of, countries where Magic historically hasn't been as accessible just because of lack of interest. Think of like Southeast Asian countries, places like that, or where money isn't as easy to come by disposable income. Downloads are so much more accessible because the world over, for the most part now, people have a phone. And so even if you don't have a DVD player or a TV, even if you have a phone, you can learn Magic. But and I mean the DVD, it's like, oh, you can't plug. I mean, you probably actually could plug a DVD player somehow into a phone. I'm sure there's a connector somewhere that takes an HDMI out into a USB-C or a Thunderbolt cable. But like,
sells that, such a niche market.
So like $2 a year to like people who don't understand, you could just like burn into a computer. Like, but yeah, it's crazy to think like how much Magic on that aspect has become much more accessible across the world. Like streaming really has, I think, brought that up a lot.
Glad it did. I mean, if we were still stuck with DVDs, there wouldn't be any kids right now getting into it, or no one younger like getting into learning Magic for the first time. Like they'd be like, what is a DVD?
Yeah. No, I mean it's so true because DVDs don't even come in computers anymore.
Yeah.
No, it's not. Dude, I don't even like in 10 years, I don't even want to know what's going to like. I think DVDs is going to be like a prehistoric thing, like a floppy disk.
Yeah. Dude, there's still people out there though who have like old school laser discs, which are like the size of records for movies. Like people like have collections of that, and they're actually worth a lot of money. But again, that's that like niche collector market. Like you're not going to have a resurgence, even though you had a resurgence of vinyl records. Like that one kind of surprised me, but at the same time, like.
I don't think the sound though. The sound
I don't think
and it's more of like that rough, old school, like kind of recorded in your basement sound. That's kind of like what that kind of gives you. But
the problem,
with that laser disc, it's like, I want better quality than a DVD, but less quality than a Blu-ray. And I'm gonna go with a laser disc
at 3 times the size.
Times the size.
Well, and like even with like Blu-ray now, you've kind of hit to some extent a technological wall there of how much more information you can fit on a disc. So without figuring out what the next, like no one's going to drop money into researching what the next iteration of a Blu-ray is, because that can just have them stream 150 gig file over the internet at zero cost for the most part. So we thankfully will never see a resurgence there, I don't think, but I don't know, man. It's crazy to think how far it's come. I mean, I think a lot of kids these days too, though, don't want to approach the idea of like books and those kind of things, like I think that's where you need to get past the whole like apparatus aspect, where you really get interested into the theory and the creation side of it. And that's when books become a feasible aspect, Yeah,
we can't
cannot hear you.
We lost you.
You are muted. Can you hear us? Yeah. Nothing.
There we go.
There we go. We got
is that better? All right. Yeah. Sorry, I was trying to. Let me see if this still works. Can you hear me now?
Yeah. Yep.
No. Okay. Sweet.
Yeah, we can hear you.
What was the question again? I forgot. I was
Just basically the fact that like so many people like it's interesting to see that books are still there, and I think books are something that will last the test of time because
Right,
ultimately
that was the thing I was
people
talking about.
people get into books when they
They are.
realize that they like theory and creation more so than just
Yeah.
the apparatus side of things.
Yeah,
Oh,
they
yeah,
like
I
to
heard
have
that
the
so
books on their
much.
shelf to like
Hmm.
keep going back.
They look
to.
nice too.
Yeah.
They the thing is, I always say I remember it was a big thing back in the day because reading a book, if you didn't read a book, you're not professional magician. That was always, I don't know if you guys were in that whole group, but
No.
no, I actually can't read at all. So I have dyslexia. So
Okay, interesting.
I actually can't read. So I haven't read any books, but I know the many benefits of it. So I do recommend people to read.
Well, and that's the other aspect of it though too, and I think that always kind of went against the argument of like, oh, you have to read books. Is people learn different ways. They've known that for decades now. People learn different ways. Some people are visual, some people are auditory, some people have to take notes. Some people, if they take notes, don't pay attention. Like the same thing with school. Like people learn in different ways, and books don't work for you. Yeah, I mean, I feel like very few people are good.
No, like that's what, like my dyslexia did not help with multiple choice at all.
Yeah.
Like I would circle in the wrong thing. Like during the SATs, I had the hardest time. I was like, I swear I got like half my answers wrong just because I circled the wrong bubble. Like
it's crazy.
It was so dumb. Yeah, I had such a hard time at school.
Well, and that I mean, on a random topic there, that goes to show though too why standardized testing is a load of shit, because it doesn't account for people who have any sort of like issues that may arise that prevent them from doing well, because it could have been
disability. It's a learning disability. Like if you're not going to take that seriously, then like, I mean, a lot of kids have it too, not just me. You know,
dude, no, I mean it's pretty common for dyslexia and for numbers dyslexia as well. And like,
well, let's be honest. I mean, the testing, not even standardized testing, but testing itself in schools is just so different. Just because even if you don't have a disability, you know, I mean, I guess anxiety is kind of considered an issue, but you know, people can get super anxious. You know, super.
Because they're put in this box. You only have 4 answers. These are
you only have 2 hours to do it.
These are the 4. This is the multiple choice. There's only 4 answers, and so like you're teaching kids to be extremists. You're teaching them to be like, okay, it's either this answer or it's that answer. Like it's very black or white. There's no gray area, which is something I think is very scary, because like you want to, when you're teaching kids, like or even students, teenagers, whatever, like you want their brains to be open to everything. Like, and that's why I think like schools need to be less multiple choice and be more like hands-on and very open to different things. At least that's how I felt in school. Like I felt like I was so constricted to just like this form of standardized test taking, which you know, I don't think is the smartest way to go about teaching kids to learn.
That's why most big colleges are getting rid of the requirement for standardized testing. I'm sure in the next 10 to 15 years, we won't see colleges be asking for things like the SAT and the ACTs anymore. It's just it's not reasonable. You can't. I mean, it's hilarious considering the 100-year-old adage, don't judge a book by its cover. And then you sit there and you say, oh, you're not qualified to come here because you got an 1125. It's like, first off, what the fuck does that even mean? Second off, who cares? Like, you can't, I mean, if nothing else we've seen on this show, you know, this episode 68, the amount of things you learn about people that you would never know based on what you see on the social media profile. It's the same thing with testing. You can't get a good gauge of someone's intelligence, personality, capability, or chance or likelihood of success based on numbers. It just doesn't.
We're all fucked up. Every single one of us is fucked up in some way. I don't care who you are, and that's the coolest thing about the show, and that's why I love talking to people who are wherever they are. You know, because it just shows that they're human. They like pizza. They like certain movies. You know, and that's I mean, it's just. It just everybody reacts different to their surroundings, you know. And when you're, like you said, thrown in a room where you have a time limit and you have this pressure of, if you don't get this, you're not going to college. And if you don't do this, you're not going here. It's just,
I thought it was the end of my work, like the end of my life. Like I thought it was like life. It was like what was it like? Not life changing. whatever the word is, I can't think of it. But it was that's how I felt as a kid. I was, oh, it's life or death.
Yeah.
This SAT test is life or death. And if
Yeah.
I don't get above a 1200 or whatever,
Right.
I'm not going to college, and it's the end for me. And that's how I felt. And what a terrible feeling to give your kids.
And it's also not
you ever want
accurate.
your children to go through that? Exactly.
Yeah.
You know how many college dropouts from my school are more successful than the Ivy Leagues kids?
What college did you go to?
So many more of them. I went to Lee University in Tennessee.
Oh, cool.
They're focused on music. They're very focused on like they don't do anything else except for music there. So.
Oh, cool.
I mean, the honest truth about it though too is in the real world, and this is always the thing that pisses me off about schooling, is they're like, oh, we're training you for the real world, or we're trying to give you real world experience. In reality, in work, if you go in and someone's like, hey, I need you to do a project, they don't dictate the time frame. They don't say, hey, I need you to do this, unless it's like an urgent matter and it's reasonable. And they're like, hey, we need this by Friday. Fine. More often than not, someone comes to you and they're like, hey, I need you to do this project. How long do you think it will take you? And you say, okay, it's going to take me 2 weeks in my head. And so out loud, you say it's going to take me 4 weeks because you want to give yourself some padding. And then in 3 weeks, you're done. And everyone's like, oh, great job. You finished it ahead of time. And you're like, exactly. Like the real world is not this weird test taking scenario that they create.
There's not four outcomes, and then you pick one that's the correct one. You know, they always say, I want you to do, I need to get this done. Can you do it?
Yeah.
There's more than 4 ways to get one thing done. There's like a million ways to get the same thing done. Like, and that's the problem. You're making I mean, I was part of this whole program, you know, I'm sure you guys were too. Like we're all taught like, oh, okay, this is how it is. Like this, there's only four possible outcomes, and one of them's the right one. Like it's so constricting artistically too. Like man, I can't imagine like anyone like someone that's like super artistic to be doing this type of regiment like test taking thing. Yeah, and I'm Asian. I'm supposed to be like smart, but you know I can't even. Well, you know what the thing barely is? Like I was this close to dropping out of high school, not even college, like high school.
Yeah,
like I was that bad.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like I mean, that's a whole problem nowadays with where the arts are getting taken out of schools, right? That's like the first thing they take out of schools when budgeting cuts come up. But I think, yeah, I mean, I think it's just crazy the fact that the stuff that they are teaching in schools, like the numbers and how to pronounce, you know, whatever, and grammar and stuff. Grammar is obviously very important. It's good to learn to write, whatever.
To some extent.
Honestly, not anymore because everybody uses.
Yeah, everybody texts and there's autocorrect. Yeah, I mean, in this day and age, like shorthand via texting is probably as easily recognizable as good grammar. Good grammar is 100%. Actually more difficult and not necessarily worth it. Like,
right, but I'm saying like before, like Microsoft Word and before everything was corrected on an app, because nobody needs to know how to write anything anymore. I'm terrible at writing. But you might know, but you would never know if like, you know, Tyler might know, but if I like sat there and actually composed a letter that I knew was going to someone important, because normally I don't give a shit who it is. I'll just that cool. But like, other than that, you know, it's pretty easy to get around it, you know, but the things that you can't get around are like the things that actually have to do with life. Like, I don't care how old you are or what school. You shouldn't have to go to a vocational school to learn how to change a tire. You know, like something like check your oil. Like I think that stuff should be done in a class outside of gym, not gym class, obviously, because it's not gymnast. I mean, it's not like stuff that you would do in gym, extracurricular activities or whatever. But I think the stuff that's important that you should know how to do, you know, teach boys not to be fucking assholes, you know, like certain things. Things.
Geez, how to do your taxes? That's the
how to do taxes. That's the one thing I don't know. I still don't know how to do my taxes. I'm not even joking. I still don't.
Dude, if it wasn't for TurboTax, like
exactly
TurboTax, and then the problem with that is like you rely on something like TurboTax, or when you get your taxes to a point where they're complicated enough, you go rely on an accountant. Guess what? An accountant's a person. They still make mistakes. Thankfully, they're liable for those mistakes. But it's like you end up having to shell out tons of hard-earned money for someone else to do something that should be simple.
Yeah,
and then you can't take them accountable too. Like you know, you don't know if they're doing the right thing. Because if you knew stuff about taxes, then you can hire someone and be like, okay, I can make sure you're doing the right thing.
Yeah, you're not double checking your accountant's work.
Yeah, you know, long story short, there's definitely things that are very important that are not taught in our you know, school system when we're growing up, especially in high school. You know, it's
Yeah.
Fucking crazy.
Like
know,
I've never needed to know how to do calculus, and
What?
that's something that it was standard. It was standard to know calculus in
Yeah.
high school. And I was like, when am I ever going to need to know this? And I still to this day have no. I mean, I'm sure there's plenty of people that need to know calculus.
Right.
I'm sure there's tons, but like as a regular high school student, you know, like, do I really need to be wasting my time on this? Like,
No. You know what the crazy thing? All that stuff is so silly. And the one thing that I wished you know, because obviously when you're an American, you don't give a shit about other countries normally, most Americans when they're younger. But when I was in high school, it was mandatory to take 2 years of a language, you know, and I was able to get through high school without taking 1 minute of a language. So,
wow.
Which is crazy. I don't know how I did it. I'm so lucky. But at the same time, I'm very unlucky because that's probably the one thing that would benefit me most out of everything I've learned in high school. You know,
I should have learned a second language. I was too.
Yeah.
I'm so bad at languages. Like I wish I had learned, and I wish I was fluent.
I mean,
Yeah.
we also
that's my
teach
one
languages
biggest
too,
regret.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The one thing
Yeah.
I wish I learned, I didn't have to, but that was the only thing that was technically mandatory, and I didn't even have
then
to do
though,
it.
and they've changed this now. It used to be like, I don't know, for like Massachusetts and each state's a little bit different, but like in New Jersey growing up, you weren't required to take a language until high school. So you had to take 2 years out of 4. Yeah, nowadays I think they do it earlier, but they tell you that by the time you're like 13, 14, your ability to learn a language is significantly diminished in comparison to before that.
I believe that.
So like, yeah, so in reality, like, you know, and hopefully like, you know, for kids and everything, like if you're out there now and you're you know 13 or younger, like learn a language now because it'll stick with you versus like trying to learn a language as a 40-year-old, I'm sure is terrible. Like,
yeah,
it's not ideal. So and those are all the things in life you realize now.
I'm going to be right back.
Do you think?
I'll be right back. Like, yeah.
Do you think?
Yeah, I mean,
it's crazy to think, man.
It's so crazy. And just, I mean, I think, well, here's the thing. I mean, I think so many teachers are like their hands are tied to to the curriculum, right? They can't go outside of this curriculum and teach things that they feel would benefit from it. You know, I have a couple friends that are teachers, but they're always stuck in like these boxes. And if, you know, the school system finds out about it, they get in trouble. And it's just like teachers can't do their jobs anymore. In the younger classes, you know, I'm not talking like colleges and stuff like that, you know.
Yeah.
It's just crazy. It's crazy.
But that's what it is. I mean, in this day and age, we try and teach to a test, and then the test happens, and then you forget everything you learned for it. And then, I don't know, I came out of college, I didn't learn anything. So. Well,
here, all right. I think the most important thing, right, for any, you know, 17-year-old, that's like high school getting ready to hit college, right?
Yeah.
The problem is that's if you're getting ready to go into college, they don't prepare you for that from high school to college and that effect that it's going to have on you. The amount of people that all of a sudden just like mental health just all of a sudden becomes a problem because
Shin, perfect timing, by the way. Here you go. Colin Cloud just got here. No Shin, classic. Welcome, Colin.
What's up, Colin?
Hey, can you guys hear me? All right.
Yeah,
we can.
Yeah.
Oh, sweet. Okay.
We're just talking about. I was saying basically how when you're in high school and you're preparing for university/college, they actually don't prepare you for the emotional side of going from high school into college, which is the most drastic change you're ever going to have to go through. And the amount of people that all of a sudden just happen to find out they have the most amazing mental health issues because they're going from like, you know, a small little pond that everybody knows them into this gigantic ocean that they're nobody.
Yeah.
Is just
it's so funny. And for me, it was the opposite. My high school is huge.
Yeah. Where'd you go to high school?
Acton Boxborough.
Okay, I went to Brockton High, so we're pretty close.
Yeah, we're pretty close.
Yeah,
and for me, it was like the opposite.
Yeah,
I went from a big high school that like high school was the most terrible thing for me. I had the worst experience there.
Oh man.
Not saying anything bad about Acton Boxborough. It's a great school, I'm sure, but just the environment, there's such a competitive, it's like I think it's a blue ribbon school. So it was like top 50 in all the world.
Nice.
And it's just the competitiveness, like you had to be smart, you had to be popular, you had to be good at sports, you had to be everything. It was everything. And I was none of those. I wasn't smart at all. And going from that to Tennessee was such a massive, drastic change, because Tennessee, it was a super quiet place and people there, everyone's a musician there. So it was a very, very drastic change for me. And I wasn't prepared at all for that. It's something they don't teach you.
Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, a big part of my job, being a photographer, I went around to a lot of colleges and universities and talked to students about mental health and insecurities and things like that. And man, the amount of students that all of a sudden found out they have anxiety, they have depression, they have panic attacks, they have eating disorders, like all this stuff, all of a sudden, freshman year, they just happen to have it, and it's because just the pressure and maybe
they didn't notice it at first. It's something that can be underlying, and then it kind of just, as they mature, they realize
sure.
it, and then they're like, wow. And that's the thing about high school. And they maybe this will be the last time we talk trash about high school, but but that's because we've been trashing it for the past 30 minutes. That's fine.
Right.
I'm okay with that. But I mean, like, it's that's the thing. They don't check up on kids' mental health, and that's something that should be a whole class on its own.
100%.
Like, you'd be like, they go to the classroom and then they get analyzed or whatever by someone professional, and they're like, are you doing okay, and stuff like that. I mean, I know we have like counselors, but it doesn't really count. It never.
Well, you only go to a counselor when you're not doing well.
Exactly. Well, not even that, but like counselors in high school was a joke. It wasn't even like, it's to get out of stuff. At least that's what I use my counselor. I was just like, I have insomnia. That's why I missed all my
Thank you,
school.
Martin.
Thank you, Martin. We appreciate the support, man.
Yeah, that's so funny. No, that's true. Yeah.
So it was so funny. I almost dropped out of college. I almost dropped out of high school because they couldn't pass me because I exceeded the amount of absent days, and it was because of my counselor. Like, I sweet talked her into closing an eyes, and then that's how I graduated. But if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't have a high school degree.
That's crazy.
Thanks for the counselor in Acton Boxborough.
Mrs. Brown. That's her name.
Mrs. Brown. You're a good woman, Mrs. Brown.
Thank you.
Has she ever reached out? You should reach out to her and be like, you should come to my show.
I don't know. I think so. Maybe. I'm not sure. I'm trying to remember. I know a lot of people in high school ended up reaching back out to me, like, oh, that's so amazing. Like, I didn't think that, this whole magic thing would actually work out for you.
I feel like no one expects that to be a career these days. Everyone still like scoffs at like magic as a full-time job. And it's like, dude, there's been television shows on it. You look at David Blaine, David Copperfield, obviously it's few and far between, but
it's that friend that's doing like DJing, like you're like, oh yeah, my friend's DJ. You never expect them to end up becoming
like Marshmallow or
exactly. Because they're just in their room, they're just in their basement of the parents' basement, just going like that. It's the same thing. It's the same.
I love it. And so, swinging us back to the magic side of things, more full stream. How were you surprised during quarantine when Casey decided or asked for you to kind of teach her magic?
No, I was very inspired by her.
Nice.
Her discipline, something that a lot of younger people don't have.
She's crushed it in the amount of time that she's been picking everything up. And granted, she has an amazing talent, amazingly talented teacher.
No. I actually don't teach her. I'm not even joking. What I do is I teach her the secret.
Okay,
that's it. And then
you don't make her download your videos.
No, of course not. No, don't watch my videos. They're terrible.
Dude, that's the cool thing. I really dig how her stuff is like her own. You know, it's
Yeah,
definitely
because that's all her. That's all her.
Yeah,
She
it's
all the
cool.
stuff you see, everything you see. The only thing that's me is I teach her the secret.
Yeah,
Because
no, that's cool.
you got to know the secret in order to practice, right? You can't,
Yeah.
you know, you can't not know. So she knows, she learns the secret, and then, you know, and then she does whatever she does, and then I help film her. You know, I'm the one behind the camera filming. but
how was
she,
that like being behind the
that's fun.
camera, and where before
fun.
she was behind the camera and you're like, do this. Now she's like, do this.
She's a better camera person than I am. So, but
That's
I love being behind the camera because if I wasn't a magician, I would be either a director or probably a film editor.
Okay.
And then not in a CGI type of editing as
Right.
in like piecing together an entire like 2-hour movie.
Yeah.
That's probably
I love that.
Oh yeah.
Oh, dude, I can't do it, man.
I love
hate
stuff
editing.
together. Really?
Oh,
Editing's
bro.
my favorite part.
I like that, and obviously you're like a composer, right? So that's probably why. But I'm more of I like getting the stuff, you know, the
getting the
Steve's
footage.
I like
he's
shooting it
the
and
filmographer,
getting it and putting it together. Just the process takes so long and it's so tedious.
Then that's why we're a perfect team, because I don't like shooting.
Dude, I
Yeah.
will come to your show and shoot the shit out of your show, and then I'll hand you all the footage.
Great.
And be like, bro, have a good time. I'll sit there with you and be like,
because I'm actually very bad at filming. Like I love
really?
the whole process of movies and everything, content, stuff like that. I love that. But I just know I'm not very good at filming.
Yeah.
Like I'm very bad at like framing stuff.
Yeah.
I
that's
always
cool.
need to ask Casey, I'm like, how would you frame this? Because I don't know how to frame this.
And I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome that you know that. That's awesome you know that and you could admit it. And you're like, and that's why Tyler and I get along so well. It's because I can look at him and be like, I suck at this, so you have to do it. And he says the same, you know, he'll obviously I'm good at the stuff.
Why try to fake being good at something?
Yeah, it's not worth it.
Why would you do that to yourself? It would never be
no.
it, because then you're expected to do a good job, and then you don't. And you try really hard to do a good job, but then you don't. It's like it's not worth it. You know?
It just takes too long to try to figure it out, where you can just have somebody do it who's already good at it.
Yeah,
work as a team.
No,
yeah,
that's what it's all about. Teams are more successful than individuals for the most part. I mean, honestly, and that's I think one thing that even in Magic a lot of people forget is, you know, prime example, everyone sees David Blaine, and we've had some people who have worked with David Blaine on the show, and it's like David Blaine isn't an individual who performs all of this and is successful because of it. He's successful because he has these ideas and he's creative, but he has a team who helps facilitate all that. And without that team, a lot of these things probably wouldn't happen. You know, it's true for any really successful anything. I mean, hell, you look at companies. Yeah, we were talking to someone about this the other day. Like the CEO is not the person who makes everything work. The CEO is the person who has to make the hard decision and gets the liability on them for making the right or wrong decision. But it's all the people below, you know, the CEOs who are making shit actually happen. Like teams are how the world runs. No question about it.
Yeah.
No, and that's something they didn't teach at school.
No,
exactly, right? Yeah, that's teamwork. All about
I'll go back to school one last time.
Hey, just so you know, it was your idea to go back to school.
I know. I know this is my idea. This is the last time we'll ever talk about schooling. But I remember this one thing, and they pushed this so much in my school, and it was about self. And it was like, you do everything yourself. And it was so like focused on just the self and not working with other people. And I think that's like that can really blur the lines of like being, because then you end up with just a bunch of kids that are selfish, and that's not good.
That's where you have those bougie schools that are top 15 in the world.
That's what happened.
Yeah,
but let's move on.
Back to magic.
So we actually had some good questions that came in from people submitting ahead of time. So let's see what we got here. And actually somewhere related to your cards too. And I'm curious about this one. What were your greatest considerations when designing Aloha playing cards?
Oh, Casey was the one that she had full reign over that. I didn't even
there you go.
Have any input.
Here's another random one that actually going back to television a little bit. Do you watch Cobra Kai? And if yes, what team are you in? Cobra Kai or Miyagi?
I've been told to watch that. I haven't seen it yet though.
It's actually pretty good. If you're a fan of the old like Karate Kid movies, it's definitely worth watching. It's it's an interesting. It's actually interestingly successful in the fact that like LaRusso, like Ralph Macchio, goes from being like the hero back in the day into like the villain almost in these new ones. It's such a transposition of characters. It's really cool. It's kind of a fun little vibe to it. Let's see what else we got here.
Oh, like Breaking Bad.
With, yeah, you know, it really,
with
yeah, going from, you know, Malcolm's dad to a drug dealer.
Yeah.
No, it's really fun in that aspect of it. Let's see. What would you give? Okay, so actually, and this is an interesting one, I think that's a good question related for magic, but not necessarily about magic itself. What advice would you give people in regards to marketing who are just starting out?
Don't care about marketing.
Good answer. That is a good answer. You want to make
go
sure.
On
yeah, well, it depends. Are they is that person a magician? Like, is that what they're?
So it looks like this one might be a brand, but I think that, you know, for a brand, I think that's a little different than you.
If they're a brand, then yeah, that's fine. But like, if you're an artist, then don't care about it.
Yeah.
Don't, because all you should care about is your
The art
craft.
Yeah.
All you focus on is your own craft, and the marketing will come later, and you'll figure that out. Because once you figure out your own craft and you're like really solid in how you present things, then the marketing is really easy. Because then you already know. Then either you hire a marketing guy or you do it yourself. I do all my marketing myself, but I still believe like every type of ad you see is done by me. Like I don't have any, because I don't need anyone else to do it. Right. But when you find out what your actual niche is and what your craft is, and you're really solid in that, then the marketing is just so easy, because you already know what to do. Like, you know how to present yourself. Like, it just comes naturally. So, and that's, you know, you see a lot of the younger kids, I hate saying that, but it's true. Like they focus so much on getting followers and everything.
Yeah.
That's just the wrong way to go about it.
They come with time. No, no, but it's not that you're an old person talking there. It's that you have the wisdom of experience and having gone through a lot of that. You know, it comes with time, man. That's
because that's a problem. You know, you focus too much on getting followers, and then you lose yourself, and then you're not able to figure out your niche first. And that's the, you need to do that. That's the most important thing.
Nice.
Yeah.
So
hold on. Someone asked, what's your favorite movie on Netflix? And if so, favorite magician movie?
Movie. Is Inception on Netflix? If it is, then.
Huh?
Well, if it's a show, if it's a TV show, if it's a movie, then I believe Inception was on Netflix before, but maybe it's not anymore. So if it's not there anymore, then
it's a great movie. That
I'll have to check out. I'll have to look back on Netflix because they keep changing every time.
Yeah, it looks
and
like
now my Netflix feed is totally different from what it was 6 months ago. It's very strange, but might be because Casey's watching so much anime.
Probably anime, yeah.
Yeah, it's just all anime, and I'm like, oh, where did all the movies go? But if TV show, then Breaking Bad. Yeah.
Nice.
So what about magic? What about magic movie or magic show
on Netflix? Is it Magic for Humans? Is
I
that
think
still on
magic. There's a magic.
Yeah,
I
know
so,
they keep getting rid of things and keep putting it back. So if that's the case, that was really good.
There,
I found it very entertaining. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Nice.
I liked it.
So speaking of anime, what's your favorite anime before 1999? That's very hyper specific for anime.
Probably One Piece.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, One Piece has been running for like ever, right?
Yeah.
At this point, yeah.
I don't know any anime. I know Howl's Moving Castle and that stuff, but that's about it.
I'm trying to think
totally
what I've
different.
watched.
Like I used to never watch anime at all until I started. Until I was with Casey, and then it's totally different vibe. Like you kind of you because I'm so like into film, like shot in 24 frames per second, and yeah, when you see anime, it's totally different thing. Like it's not even like, it doesn't follow the same rules and structure that a traditional film does, and so that's what throws a lot of people off when you first watch it, because you're just like, what the heck is this? But it's it's really, really fascinating how they kind of invented this whole new genre of entertainment. I don't even consider it film. It's not even film. I don't even consider it film. It's a whole other thing on its own.
And it's huge. It's like gigantic.
It's huge.
Yeah.
It's getting very popular. Yeah.
I mean, there's probably just as many new anime series that come out every year as television series in the US.
Yep.
Like it's
That's
crazy how
it's
many.
easier to make it, it's easier to drop, but it's people there's a huge demand for it, massive demand for it. We just saw what was that movie in Dragon Slayer? The Dragon Slayer? Demon Slayer. It's so good. You guys have to watch it.
I've heard about it.
Yeah,
not even just
very
a ton of shows popping up, but like a lot of games nowadays are anime games. Like we were searching games last night on the Nintendo Switch because we wanted to buy a game, and like a lot just random games that we could do, with Leslie and I. But yeah, I mean, just a lot of them are like we were looking for like mystery and detective solve type games, and a lot of them are even anime style, which is interesting. So I mean, there's so many anime games online too.
Yeah. If you guys want to get into anime, I highly recommend Demon Slayer. I think it's on Netflix. So it's a good introduction it's a good introduction to anime, I would say. But the movie was insane. We watched it. We rented like an AMC room. It was because we were just having a date night for the first time in 2 years. So we're like, let's just rent out the whole theater.
That's dope.
It's cheap. It was only $99.
They've really done, it's crazy, dude. They've been so short with it. There were deals, dude, across the country and depending on your region where you could get an entire theater to yourself for like $40. Like depending on, dude, it's crazy. It's crazy, which is awesome though. I think like then you don't have to worry about other people being around. Nobody's making noise. Right. It's nice.
Well, it's cool. Like we had all this food, and we're just like, we can eat as loud as we want. It's fine. We could go on our phones during the movie. Yeah. It was because I was like $99. That's like pretty much this because like it usually is like $20 a ticket. I would say something around that. So that's for two people. That's $40. I mean, you just pay 2 times and. You can have a group of 20 people. Like our max occupancy was 20. It was an AMC theater, so
that's not bad at all.
That's not bad at all.
Yeah, not bad at all. But even for 2 people though, like doubling your date night budget there is worthwhile for the privacy and just relaxation. Yeah.
Oh,
and you get to enjoy it so much more. Yeah, the experience is much better.
Screen ever, like it's.
Before
that's a great idea. I was funny because I was talking to Leslie probably like 2-3 weeks ago, and I was like, I really want to go to the movies. Well, I haven't been to the movies in ages. We looked up, there was like nothing playing, but that'd be great.
I think AMC should be open now, though. I think all the AMC.
No, I think they are now. Yeah. But there was just nothing playing when we looked. Yeah, that's all right. Go ahead,
the movies in so long. All right, so and on the anime front, if you're ever looking for something outside of the realm of like the One Piece style stuff, I'm a big fan of Berserker, or actually no, Berserk. Berserk is the one, and then I like the old school like high fantasy style, like Record of Lodoss War, stuff like that. I get into weird anime, so anything like RPG related, that's where I'm at.
Nice,
but there's some fun stuff too because they always have like a really good deep storyline to them as well. All right. So what else do we have? Your question was, when are we getting the Regalia V3 deck?
The V3.
I don't know.
It's a good question.
The V3 was always going to be a red Regalia. Nice. So like it'll be red, and then you can't really see it on camera. It's very, very subtle. But yeah, it'll be red instead of white, essentially.
Okay.
Cool. Focus. Never mind. But it's but then with the gold foil, so red and gold foil. So
very nice.
It would look cool. When am I gonna do it? I have no idea, but sometime.
Fair enough. No, fair enough.
I like how someone said the V3.
Yeah.
Essentially, it would be a V3. Essentially, that would be a V3. Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't call it V3. It would just be. What would I call it? What did I say on the box? What did I say on the box here? No, I just say Regalia. Okay, I probably the same thing. It'll probably just say Regalia. It wouldn't even say anything else. Yeah.
And then
the regret edition.
The regret. Yeah.
I mean, actually, red. I think red is a color tied with regret, so that works now. That would actually be really cool. Yeah. And then Casey says, "Why are you such a good teacher?" I'm not even joking. She submitted that as a question. So I guess you've got rave reviews from your student. Oh man, I love it. So, and I think, and this is a question that Steve asked a lot, and I think it's a good one. Someone asked a similar question to this, which was, what's your favorite trick? But I think a better question I always like that Steve has is, if you could only do one trick for like the rest of your life, what would your go-to be?
That was Dream Act.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, that makes sense.
It's like, I mean, it depends. It might change in the future. Maybe it might be regret, whatever. It might change, but for now, because it's, I've done the ECMO. I think I performed it like 8,000 times or something by now. More than that. Because Because I had to do it in Macau, and we had to do 6 shows a day, and on the weekends we had to do 8 shows a day. So I did that for a year. So it was I can pretty much perform it in my sleep now. And while you would think that that is like a bad thing, for some reason, no, because for some reason, I always enjoy the spectators that come on to my table when I'm doing the Dream Act, because their reactions are always different. And that's always interesting to play with. So you guys probably don't see it on video. You'll never see it on video, but there's a form of silent communication that I always have with the 2 audience members that are sitting there. It's almost like we have our own little, what do you call it? Almost like a conversation of sorts, right. But it's all silent. Like because they're experiencing something totally mind blowing because they're sitting so close. So it's right. How do I say it? Yeah, they see it totally, because they are at a completely different vantage point than the camera or the audience. And so I don't know. Have you ever seen Johann Stahl's Sleeveless Sleeving? Have you ever seen it?
No.
So it's the same. His FISM Act is, which mine was very heavily inspired by his as well, is focused on that spectator. That spectator gets such a different, more amazing view of the act, right? And their reactions are always so different. They vary, and so mine is very similar to that. Like they're just kind of like or sometimes they're just so puzzled and they want to figure it out, and so you get this different emotion from them, and so it's always different. And that's what I enjoy about Dream Act, is that it's not like monotonous. It's not the same, because like 52 Shades, it's the same thing. There's no one on stage. I'm just doing the same thing. It's like playing a piece and a piano piece, and it's always the same. But yeah, with Dream Act, it's always different. So it's fun. It's fun, and I still enjoy playing it.
That's how you can get either 70 minutes or 90 minutes, right?
Because
you said early on, like they always want you to do 70 minutes for your show, and sometimes it goes longer, and that's probably why, is because you do have those times.
Not for Dream Act, but for other acts maybe. But Dream Act is always like it's a very standard, like 7 minutes. Gotcha. Well, you'll always like Regret is 8 minutes. It's all from the 7 to 10 minute range. Yeah, those are my sweet spot minute. Because I never like to go over, because then I get bored. Yeah. And I never like to go under, because then you don't have that time for people to get really attached to something. Yeah, to build it up. That's right. Sense. You want them to feel attached to whatever you're doing. So 7 minutes is usually my sweet spot. Yeah, 7, 8. Yeah.
I love how much thought you really put into that emotional connection. I know we talked about it earlier, but like it shows how much of the creative process isn't just like, hey, cool, look how visual this is. It's what are you getting people to feel? What do you want people to feel and take away? And I think that probably is what takes a creator from, just an average creator to like a next level creator, is not just the visual appeal, that emotional connection.
Like any director, when they're making a film, they literally are manipulating people's feelings as they're editing it together. Like a good director, like a Quentin Tarantino, for example. Yeah. Or even Christopher Nolan, with some of his movies, maybe not, but I'm by the way, I'm a big fan of Christopher Nolan, but yeah, or Francis Ford Coppola, for example. Right. Or even there's so many directors out there that really understand this manipulation of feelings that they can give to people. They understand it, and it's kind of it's fun in a way when you're creating, because you know what you're gonna make them feel, and then you do it on purpose.
Right.
And then also, of course, when you're doing the actual performing yourself, you can also feel the same feeling, just like any actor would do. And so, like, you know, for me, it's the music that really gets me to get into that zone. And that's why I love, to be honest, I can do actually any act again and again and again, and I don't think I'll ever really get tired of it. And the reason why is because as long as I like the music, I'll never get tired of it, because
Nice.
I'm always performing based on how I feel on the music. And on my off days, and Casey will be able to pinpoint it out, is when I'm not feeling the music. I'm distracted by something else. And there's so, you know, I have those days all the time where I'm not in the zone, and it's because I'm not actually feeling the music. And then you can tell with my facial expressions, everything, even my sleight of hand isn't as smooth, is because I'm not with the music. I'm not one with the music. And for me, that's really important. I have to be like that in order to actually do a good job. Because then at the end of the day, if I stop that, and if I don't actually feel it for real, it becomes technical. And then it becomes just, I'm doing sleight of hand, or I'm doing this or that. Yeah, it doesn't, you don't take it to that spiritual level of performing arts.
Yeah.
Nice.
That
And
makes
so-
sense. Are you looking forward to doing something new? You know, obviously July 1st.
Yeah,
is coming up,
I'm a bit nervous, I would say, because it's so difficult. The new acts are so new. I remember, like, it took me 2 years to be happy with DreamHack, but it took me like 4 years or 5 years to actually be solid at performing it. 52 Shades took me a day to create it. That was lucky. That was, sometimes you just get that, like, you know, sometimes you get lucky. And so it took me a day to create that one. But it took me like 4 years also to really be like, okay, I'm comfortable doing this in front of people. So it's going to be a rough year opening up for these new acts, because I usually need about 4 years to practice it. So we'll see. I mean, it'll be fine. It'll. I mean, people will get to see the rusty side of it, but that's part of it, you know.
Yeah, it'll be really cool to go now, where you're right in the beginning, and then a year, 2 years from now to see it again.
Yeah,
that's kind of that process that would be really cool to see.
Yeah.
So come July 1st,
we'll see it.
people
Back
better
on
go
stage.
there. Yeah, they better check out the show. You know.
Yeah, dude. So what's one of the most
I'm
exciting things for you about the new show too? Is there something specific that stands out to you, or just the fact that you're going to be back on stage in general?
To be honest, if you were to ask me, I could be isolated forever, and I'd be fine with it. Like, I could not perform for the rest of my life, and I would be okay with it.
Yeah.
If you told me, like, all you can do right now is just create, I'd be totally okay with it. So
that's cool.
Yeah, that is amazing.
So I'm weird like that, I guess. So I don't. For me, like, I'm in my own little bubble. You know, I don't really like my brain, in terms of my brain. Like, I don't really care so much to, you know, some people really need that adrenaline from performing. I know.
Right.
Yeah, for me, I don't really care to perform, actually. I could very well not.
Though, man.
So, but no, I'm excited. I'm excited to go out. I'm excited to share what I've created.
Awesome.
Nervous that I might mess up, and I probably will. So, I mean, that's the whole fun of performing, you know.
I mean,
picking back up. Thank you, Nick.
Thank you, Nick. We appreciate the support, man. Dude, at the end of the day, too, though, people are there for a show, and 9 times out of 10, they don't even realize that you mess up. So that's the good part about it. And if anything, obviously, I'm not going to be like, oh, ignore it, because that's not how you develop. But like, as long as it seems you've been performing long enough that, you know, like, you make a mental notation. I slipped up here. Got to work a little bit on that next time around. You just go with the flow. Like, it's going to be an amazing show for sure.
It will be. It'll be good, and it'll be. Of course, it'll be fun to go back. It'll be fun to experience everything again, like normal. So it'll be a good time. It'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see how we adapt to the COVID situation, like how, like, because, you know, everyone now has to wear masks inside the theater. it'll be very interesting. Luckily for our acts, actually, we're not too like heavily involved in the audience, so
Right.
it shouldn't be too much of an adaptation. But we've had to like adapt a couple of things for the show to make it work for COVID.
Right. Now people will be coming up on stage.
Yeah, but they have to like sanitize and they gotta
cool.
wear a mask, I'm pretty sure,
Nice.
if they're on stage.
Well,
Cool.
And it'll be good to actually do what you came to Vegas to do. Like,
right.
Yeah,
all
that's
things,
true.
yeah. Like, I mean, it sounds like you've really settled in nicely to Vegas. And again, you know, being that you could stay inside, you probably could have been in a cabin in the woods and it would have been fine. But like, it's nice to like finally complete that transition that you started, what feels like so long ago now, I'm sure, and actually get onto the stage and do it up.
Yeah, no, it'll be good. It'll be fun to see an audience again. You know, haven't seen that in a while. So
yeah, I'm sure
it's a new experience. Totally down to that. I don't know. For me, I'm if you hang out with me long enough, I'm very I'm chill with whatever.
Right. Now,
Like
how many
if
shows do you
you
do a
put me
day?
one show, just one show,
Oh, cool.
single show. Yeah.
Do you prefer
I don't
doing
think
a
I could
single
do
show?
two.
Oh, you don't. Yeah.
I don't think I could do two shows. Yeah, I don't think I could do two shows. Not every day.
Yeah.
Maybe if it was like in Macau where it was like just a 3-month gig, 6-month gig, then that's fine. Because you know that like it's almost like a tour type vibe. So you're never really not working, you're always working.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, because this is a residency, it's different. So I probably, because I want to save some time for still creating, like to be able to create new stuff. I always want to have solid amount of time. So probably just one show a day is
Nice.
But it might change. I don't know.
Yeah. Now, do you like, for instance, can you change? I mean, what you do in your show is up to you, right? Basically.
Pretty much.
So yeah. So I mean, is
less.
it 6-8 months from now you want to change something? You can do that. Put something else in there.
Oh yeah. Absolutely. But I usually like ask people first if like they think it's a good idea.
No, for sure.
I don't go changing it like willy-nilly. Got to go through my levels of checks and balances. I can't have complete dictator. Yeah, I can't. I don't have a complete control authority. Actually, I got to ask Casey.
Totally makes sense.
That's who she'll tell me if something is bad or not.
Yeah.
In the most honest way, which is good.
That's definitely good. It's good to have someone that cares and has your best interest in mind. You know, there's so many people that don't.
So one other question that did come in here that I'm curious as to the answer is, it's from Ben Jones Magic. He says, who's your favorite hip hop illusionist?
Why did they have to phrase it like that?
I don't know. It made me kind of chuckle a lot, and I was like, all right, we're gonna ask this one.
Well, okay. So I don't know who are the hip hop, because like what's it like a hip hop magician is that's a very like niche thing. So like who are the hip hop illusionists out there?
I have no idea.
When I Google it, the only one that I see that comes up is Uncle Magic. Oh, and he says Mateo suggested Jabrizi.
Oh,
Jabrizi or Uncle Magic. So,
wow.
What makes them a hip hop? Oh, I guess a magician who sings hip hop, maybe.
Or
they do hip hop
to hip
hop. Actually, you know what? There was a really good magician that did that. I'm trying to remember his name now. I saw him at like a magic competition. He did like the moonwalk mid-act.
Nice.
Very cool. No, it was awesome. It was like a Michael Jackson hip hoppy type of act.
Nice.
That's cool.
That
kid.
All right.
We did have one because he did a moonwalk mid-act. So cool.
That's impressive,
That's cool.
dude. Well, and I think, you know, obviously you having magic as such a driving factor behind your performance, it makes sense that like there'd be an appreciation for someone who also brings a different type of music into it, especially if it adds to the performance. Again, it's one thing to just have music in the background, but to actually have it be part of it's something different. So
I have a good question.
It was awesome. He was doing like the card manip, like, you know, this one.
Yeah.
While he was doing the moonwalk. It was so cool.
That's dope.
Cool. I have one. So
what's your question, Steve?
I noticed a picture on your Instagram where you were sitting in front of your piano with your cards. Now,
that's the other act.
Is a piano gonna end up on stage with you?
So yeah, there's always a piano. It's there actually the whole time.
Oh, cool.
The whole show is revolved around the piano.
Oh, cool.
That's really cool.
And the act, this is the second act. It's actually an illusion. I'm not going to get to. I don't want to ruin it, so I'm not going to say anymore.
Yeah, don't ruin it because John Jay has front
yeah.
rows to your July 1st show. So.
Oh, all right, cool. But I'll say this though, because this won't ruin anything. But I'm literally playing the piano with my left hand, and with my right hand, I'm doing a magic routine.
Oh, that's dope. That's super cool.
Sick.
It's cool.
That sounds really cool.
Nice.
See, John wanted to know whether or not the front row middle was a good seat for the venue.
Yeah, front row middle.
Nice.
Don't get front row right or left.
All right, there you go. So, John, you picked some good
Because the way
seats
the
there.
theater has been laid out, it's was very causing us a lot of headaches.
Oh, really?
Like we had to try it. I mean, we're still in the issue currently. So, yeah, the seats on the sides, the way the theater was built, giving us a lot of problems. So, hopefully, we can figure it out by the time we open.
You could have like little monitors right in front of those seats.
Kind of narrow.
Yeah.
I hope.
And then Sub-Zero wanted to know what your favorite effect that does not involve cards.
Regret act.
Nice.
All right.
Yeah.
A little bit of a teaser there.
It has cards, but that's not the focus of the act.
Nice.
Coin magic.
Very nice.
Sweet.
Well,
That's
Shin,
interesting.
I gotta say, man, it's been an absolute pleasure getting to chat with you today.
Oh,
Heck yeah.
no,
I know
thank you for
everyone's
having me.
excited. No, dude, absolutely our pleasure. I mean, honestly, it's been, we've been looking forward to this for a long while, and we're glad that you decided to come on now that you're slowly returning to the social scene of things. And we're super excited about the show, though, man. I know Steve's already got plans in the works to go. I got to figure out when I can make it out to Vegas because I'd love to see it live. I think it's going to be an amazing show.
Come on out of Vegas. It's a fun place.
Absolutely.
Even not to watch shows, just to hang out. And so many magicians here, anyways. Probably.
I know, which I think is awesome. I know.
Improv jam.
And
Spade
a ton of food.
Spade said earlier he was driving go-karts through your neighborhood a couple weeks back, I guess. So
Really?
that's what he said, somewhere near where you're at. So who knows with him.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, dude, no, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on. What we're going to do real quick, everyone, is we're going to take a last minute word from our sponsor here. We are going to answer any last minute questions you may have. So if you have a last minute question, feel free to drop it in chat once we get back from the sponsor. If there's anything dropped in there, we'll check it out. And then we'll kind of wind things down here for the day. One of our favorite decks of 2020, the Wonder playing cards, feature beautiful 3D back designs and an amazing tuck printed by Clove Street Press. Make sure to check out the latest version, Scarlet, live on Kickstarter June 7th at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. For some reason, that gives me like ASPCA, like Arms and Angel vibe. Like Sarah McLachlan's gonna pop on and be like, "You need these cards to save puppies." Like, I love
Totally,
it.
dude. You did a great job, man.
Natsu's living his best life there. How is he gonna handle you guys going back to work outside of the house?
I don't know. I have no idea. I think he'll adapt. He's really good at adapting. So he'll be like, "Oh, this is like before when we were traveling on the bus and on the plane."
Nice.
So he remembers things like pretty well.
Yeah.
So
He won't be able to come to the venue though with you, I'm sure.
No, he will.
Oh, he
We'll
will.
bring
That's
him
good
every
at
day.
least. Yeah, no, that's good.
So luckily the dressing room is right next to the theater stage door. So
Nice.
he'll probably most likely be sleeping next to stage door. So he'll be able to hear
That's,
everything.
Best seats in the house. He's such a cute little dog though. And honestly, he's so like well behaved. You can tell how much he loves you and Casey. So
They treat him well. Paul wants to know what's your favorite breakfast cereal.
I used to have Frosted Flakes.
Nice.
all right.
I like Frosted Flakes.
John wants to know
though, because I feel like I have a sugar.
I can't do flake cereal. It gets too soggy too quick for me. I don't know.
You only put a little in the bowl at a time.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
You gotta eat
I'm
it
a
fast.
cereal amateur.
That's the idea. You gotta just eat it as quickly as possible.
Put a little in the bowl at a time. That was a good way around it too.
Oh my God. Let's see. We had a couple questions that came in here. Does the dyslexia affect your note reading as well?
Yes.
Okay.
So when I played the piano, I this would frustrate my teachers so much, but they knew
Thank
that
you, Laura.
this
Thanks,
was
Laura. We
like
appreciate the support.
Thank you.
like the most time consuming thing, because usually when you read notes, you can read and you can play. But I could
Right.
never really read. So I would have to, because for me with piano, I could kind of pretty much play anything. Anything
Right.
they gave me, I could play any song. So the real hard part was just having to memorize from beginning to end, like every single placement of the note. So that's how I would learn the song. I would literally just
wow.
remember where the notes were, where my fingers needed to be, and what it sounded like.
Interesting.
And then I had the sheet music in front of me to kind of give me a general like sense of where I'm at. But in reality, if you told me to play the piece like in the middle of the song, specifically bar number 57 or whatever, I wouldn't be able to do it. I would have to play this song from the beginning and then get to that section. So
it's kind of like when somebody asks me where like the alphabet, where they're like, okay, what comes before the letter P? You're like O. Like I have to go a few letters beforehand.
Yep. It's like that. That's right. It's like that.
That's funny. So John Jay says, why is the S triple so hard?
It's no, it's the same as Anaconda. If you can do Anaconda, then you can do the S triple.
Dude, Anaconda's hard like, too, man.
Yeah, it's if you practice like with a new deck of cards, that's the first thing, and then the second thing is just practice on top of like your bed or something like that, because then it really allows you to just like go all out. So the thing about the S triple and Anaconda, they're all the same. They do the same. They use the same technique and method, which is pretty much the cards need to air cushion themselves to a certain point where they all just start sticking together. That's why you get that kind of perfect line, almost like a waterfall. And it's because of that like kind of friction between the cards is what you really want to get. So when you practice, and that's the type of thing, that's knacky in that sense, because you just got to hit it. There's no, like, if you try to like do the Anaconda or S dribble, like slowly, if you try to learn it slowly, that's not going to work. You just got to do it as if you're doing it for real. That's like my best advice for that.
Yeah.
Because then once you hit it, you're like, oh wow, okay, this is what it's supposed to be like.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It definitely was a hard flourish, I guess you can call it, to learn for me.
And then we had one other question here, actually two other questions here. Who's your favorite magician? I think you kind of talked a little bit about your inspirations earlier. Not having a specific one, which I think is fair enough. It's got to be tough too, knowing a lot of magicians personally and being like, oh yeah, no, this person's definitely my favorite. Like you probably have a lot of different impact and thoughts around the magicians who you know versus those who you just see on social media or other places.
Yeah. And then they also have different like they inspire you in different ways. Some magicians inspire you like, oh, I love the way they tell the story. Oh, I love the way they do their sleight of hand. You know, those different.
That's one of the things I really love about magic is the fact that you can take that inspiration from so many different avenues and use it to kind of create your own persona, you know?
Right.
Yeah, it's very cool. Okay. And then
Paul asked, since you were chugging along the path to become a musician, was it hard to convince your parents that you wanted to go into magic?
Yeah, it was very hard, and they're Asian parents too. So.
Yeah,
because you're telling them like, oh yeah, I want to drop out because I want to try doing this magic thing for real. And like I remember my mom was like, you know how much money we spent on the piano lessons and university and everything. It was very tough to tell them. It was very tough to tell them that. You know, and because my parents we immigrated from Singapore to America. I'm actually American Canadian, but my blood is Singapore.
Okay.
My parents are Singaporean, and so whenever you migrate to a new country, it's like very tough. You know, it's not easy. You make a lot of sacrifices. So for them, you know, their son that is doing this random thing called magic, they don't know whether he could make a living off of it, really terrified them. So it was definitely a very big thing when I told them, like, oh yeah, I'm gonna drop out of college.
What was
pursue
that
this magic
process?
thing.
What was like, how long did it take you to kind of, once you started thinking about it, to build up the courage to bring it to them, to be like, this is what's going to happen?
Yeah, it was after it was right before Blackpool FISM. And I was like, okay, I promise you I'm gonna win FISM. And like I'll be able to make a living off of this. Like I promise you. Like dropping out of college, it'll be worth it. Like I was trying to pitch them this idea. and they were like, okay, fine, you can, all right, win FISM then. Like that was the whole thing. Like they were like, because they were very stressed about me dropping out. And yeah, so then I went to FISM in Blackpool, and of course I didn't win, so that was devastating. You can probably imagine how that turned out. It was I mean, to be honest, I think my parents felt, I think, when I look back on it, I don't think both of them really actually cared too much. They just really cared about me surviving, and they really wanted to make sure that I could survive on my own. That's really all they cared about. They didn't, magic, piano, whatever. It didn't matter. So I was very hard on myself after I had lost that. That's why I freaking tried to do comedy after that. It's funny.
Dude, we got to definitely see this. Yeah, we definitely got to see this comedy act. Yeah, we definitely got to get a sneak peek at the comedy act.
It's very David Stone-esque. So if you've seen David Stone, you kind of
we'll have to check him out, because you're probably one of. I feel like we've had someone else who mentioned David Stone to us in the past as well. So I think at that point we have to just check him out now. And we actually had a question here.
Great performer.
Nice. Yeah, we had a question from Back to the Tutor as well. Would you say your piano practice and technique has impacted your dexterity with magic? Either positively or negatively, yeah?
Yeah, positively and negatively. So negatively probably with the carpal tunnel, but positively, I believe I pick up magic a lot faster than I would have if I didn't. Sorry, I believe I would pick that up faster, because of piano, than if I didn't. Because I think it helps with my dexterity with this, because magic, it's not about like close up. Close up magic is about being fast. Yes, that's true with your fingers, but it's also about being able to stretch your fingers in ways that normal people don't stretch their fingers. Like you're supposed to be able to bend them in a certain way that normal people don't actually practice that. You also need to train certain muscles in your fingers that most people would never ever think of training. So I think piano helps with the stretching part of it.
Yeah, it's funny because it's like when you first start anything, whether it's a specific cut or whatever, that's why in the beginning you're like this, and you're dropping the cards everywhere, and then as you keep
hands
going,
like sore,
as you keep going, your hands get used to that motion, and then you eventually obviously can do it. It's like learning and teaching those muscles. People don't understand the muscles they have in their fingers. It's crazy.
Yeah, and no, it's they can do incredible things.
Yeah.
With the and obviously you mentioned the carpal tunnel, but have there been other major or relatively major injuries that you've sustained in your hands because of this kind of out of the ordinary motion?
Yeah, I cut my thumb trying to do. So I used to have back in the day, I used to have a crossbow act. It was heavily inspired by what's his name, Aaron Crow. I don't really know that magician. He's great. He has such a great presence. I wish I had his type of theater presence that he has. He has, like, the moment he steps on stage, like you're like, oh, you take him seriously, big time.
That's cool.
I wish I had that type of initial, but I don't. So, anyways, but yeah, his cross his bow and arrow act is incredible. And so that's what inspired me. I was like, oh wow, this is really cool. Like I want to try something dangerous. So I did the crossbow. And then and I cut my thumb tendon, and it was because of the act. And so I was like, nope, never doing that again.
How was the recovery?
I'll stick to the piano.
How was the recovery for that?
It was tough. It was like, so the doctor initially said like, oh yeah, you can't do magic for 2 years. You gotta like just let it rest. You gotta do physical therapy for 2 years. And at that time I was already like doing gigs. I was very freaking out. I had to cancel so many gigs. And but luckily, I think I'm not too sure if it was my physical therapist, probably was, but I really worked hard with the physical therapy, PT,
Yeah.
and it really changed a lot. I managed to like pretty much go back to normal after 3 months, 2 months.
Wow, that's impressive.
Yeah, it was way faster than the doctors really. Wow, this is. I'm pretty actually. If I'm not mistaken, one of the doctors, they're doing like a study on it now, like in terms of the PT. So like now this like my specific case is like something that they teach people in PT. Like it's a
That's
case
really
study
cool.
or something.
It's
Yeah,
probably
they're like, okay,
because it's probably because your hand is so, I mean, I guess you can say strong or well like trained, whether it's because of piano and magic that your muscles were able to heal quicker, maybe.
Maybe. Well, it had to do with like so usually because I broke sorry not to. So usually they with the tendons, especially these two tendons over here, which they were both completely severed, and you can see that there and there. They control like the thumb giving a thumbs up, pretty much, which you guys know is very very important for magic.
Yeah.
Of course. And so the doctor was like, yeah, you're the most you're ever going to go is like this far, pretty much.
Holy
because
shit.
what happens is when it gets severed and then they sew it back together, it's like a rubber band. Like it's almost, imagine you snap a rubber band and then you glue it back together. Once that's glued back together, it doesn't have that same elasticity that it usually once had. So that was his fear, because I told him, I was like, oh, I do need to be able to give a thumbs up. Like I need to be able to do that. And he was like kind of freaking out. He's like, oh, really? But during PT, I guess I just went all out very quickly. And I think that's what helped. Because usually you're supposed to go very slow, because they're very afraid of it snapping again. If you try to bend it too far too quickly, it'll snap, and then they have to re-sew it back in together, and that makes it even worse.
That's
back
crazy.
to stage one. That's right. And so, but luckily, I guess it didn't snap for me, and I really went all out at the first 2 months. I just did so much of it, and it's still not as good as my right thumb, which is normal, but it's better than I think what they would have expected.
I feel like a lot of people don't take PT too seriously either. A lot of people don't do their exercises appropriately. They don't.
Well, they also do instill that fear, though. I mean, like you know, you mentioned Shin, like they were worried that if you went too quickly, it would snap again. Like I think a lot of times with PT, they do take the safer route because there's a higher chance of success, though maybe not as much of a full recovery. You have a better chance of recovery in general. But yeah, that's tough, man. That's impressive and very, very awesome that you were able to recover as well as you did. But that's something else,
very
man.
Lucky. Lucky. No, I consider it lucky, because probably would have snapped it if I went like if I let's say just tried just a little bit harder than before, because it's either it snaps or it doesn't snap. That's the thing.
Right.
So you're kind of like walking on a very thin line, and you're just kind of like, oh, I hope I make it. So I'm just glad I did.
Yeah, no, that's definitely good. Now, we didn't touch on food, obviously, and that's something that we normally touch on. And I know you're a big food fan. What's your favorite go-to meal that you like to cook?
Hainanese chicken rice.
Hainanese chicken
you guys
rice?
Ever?
No.
Hainanese chicken
never
rice.
heard of
It's a Singapore dish. It's like it's pretty much chicken and rice. That's all it is. But the rice is cooked in a chicken broth that's been like being what's it called, broth for a while. I don't even know if that's the right word, but so the rice is cooked in a special way, and then the chicken is also steamed, but put in an ice bath. And what that does is it kind of holds all the liquids inside of it. So whenever you cut into the chicken, it's like you get all the release of all the juice and all the broth and everything like that. Yeah, it's such a, and then of course there's the sauces that you make for the dip. It's such a simple dish that is a little bit complex to make because of like the ice bath and stuff like that. There's a lot of certain processes that you have to go through. It's almost like a magic trick. And
it looks good.
Cool.
Yeah.
It's simple. It's really simple, but it tastes really good, and it's really healthy too, which is why I like
Nice.
it. So, and it's something I've had ever since I was when I was a young kid in Singapore. Because I moved from Canada age 4 or 5, I don't remember, and then lived in Singapore for a couple of years. And I would always, and then the years from when you're 4 to 9 to 10, those are like the years that's like nostalgia for you.
Yeah.
I don't know about you guys, but for me, that's all my nostalgia
sure.
years.
Yeah.
And so like I remember in Singapore, I would go down to in Singapore, it's very safe. Like anyone can walk around. Like as a kid, you can just walk by yourself. It's fine.
Yeah.
So I would walk down to the restaurants and pick up myself some chicken rice and then bring it back to home. And it's like it was so good. Those were good times. And so I think that's probably why I like to make it. I like to make a lot of soups too.
Cool. Dude, did you make that stew I sent you yet?
Not yet.
Dude,
I haven't ever since we started when we last talked. I haven't been able to cook as much. Very unfortunate. Yeah, because I at that point I already started. I had like a pretty solid idea of what act I wanted to make.
Yeah, you were definitely
piano and stuff.
Yeah,
I was getting into that. Yeah, I was getting to my mode at that point. So I had to. I was doing some random dishes like borscht soup, stuff like that. It was funny, but because I had this whole like cooking frenzy for a little bit. But then once I started like figuring out like, okay, now I know what act I want to do. I just stopped cooking.
Yeah, dude. Well, when you get the chance, you definitely have to cook it. Obviously, cook it on a day where it's like rainy and you're inside and you don't mind feeling like a fat slob after you eat it. But it's just so hearty and so yummy. It's amazing.
I like that.
Yeah, it's really good, and it fits in the whole kind of soup vibe that you like. Mm-hmm. And how do you feel about Pizzeria Regina from Boston?
I don't think I've ever had that.
You've never had Pizzeria Regina? Dude.
If it was very popular, then I must have had it. But my favorite was, I guess maybe because I was young every time I went there. But it was. Have you ever had Sorrento's?
Sorrento's. Yeah, I've had Sorrento's.
It's out. Yeah, you had Sorrento's. Yeah, it was my favorite because it was right next to my school, right next to Acton Boxborough, and so I would always just go there. And then like senior year, we were allowed to leave school premises, so we would always go to Sorrento's and then bring it back to school. It was, nice. I don't know, maybe it's the environment, the atmosphere that I really remembered. TC Lando's was also really good. I had TC Lando's, but their Philly cheesesteaks are amazing.
Nice.
Like they're incredible. Like they're very unhealthy, but it's incredible.
Yeah,
all the good stuff is, well, I don't want to say all the good stuff is really unhealthy. There are good healthy foods as well, but all the stuff that's like exceptionally good, as you bite into it, you're like, nothing this gooey and oozy and cheesy is healthy for you. So
yeah,
I love it.
And Pizza Regina is like a big pizza in Faneuil Hall.
Maybe I have had it then.
Yeah, it's like obviously you go down the middle aisle where all the food is. Yeah, and it's like pretty much the only pizza spot.
Then I must have had it. Okay.
It's right across from the Monkey Bow, that the kind of slushy / fruit smoothie place. So good. I love Faneuil Hall. Yeah.
I miss Boston.
Did you ever go there when the Magic Store was there?
Yeah, Hankley's.
Yeah. It's not there anymore. It's not there anymore.
No. It's not there.
Yeah. I used to love going there because all the magic acts that were there on the weekends were great.
I only went there once.
Oh, okay.
It was before I actually got into magic. It was before I even knew that not that magic was possible, but I think I was 13 or something like that, because I only started magic seriously when I was 16. But when I was 13, I hopped in there and I was like, oh, this is so cool. Like these are all so interesting. Like I didn't know what that invisible deck was. Whoa.
That's because you couldn't see
it. What's an actual invisible deck?
That's because you couldn't see it, dude.
Oh god, I love it.
I know. It was so cool though. I was like, "Oh, this is awesome!" And then I left. But I always remember walking in there. Hankley's, good old Hankley's.
What was your first? I remember walking in there too. What was your first little gimmick that you bought. It could have been like the coffin, like just
Actually, didn't
anything.
get in there. I didn't get anything at Hankley's. I only went in and went out. So at that point.
Okay. But when you did buy something when you were 16, what was that first like trick / gimmick that you bought? Do you remember what it was?
That was like, this is awesome. Wow. I'm trying to remember. Because I started with sleight of hand first, and then I moved into the more toy fun stuff later.
Yeah.
But David Stone's was my first DVD, but that didn't have nothing included in it. I'm trying to remember now.
The first thing I ever bought.
No, I remember. It was the M5 system by Illusionist. Brad Christian, you guys remember that? You know what I'm talking about?
I don't.
You don't know? Oh, you don't know?
Uh-huh.
Okay, if anyone's in the chat, you guys have. If you guys know what the M5 system is, it's hilarious. Because it's. I don't want to give it away, but it's just so ridiculously. It's cool. It's very cool, but it's also very ridiculous. And I think that was the first trick that I was like, "Whoa, this is wacky." But yeah, that was the first thing I got from first toy I got from the Illusionist.
That's awesome. You want to know the first trick I got when I went into a magic shop? It was the little black. It's not a trick, but the little black circles that you light on fire, and then a fucking worm comes out of them.
Oh wow, that's
yeah.
cool.
Remember those things? They were kind of more of like.
It's more of like that's more of like a fun little like bullshit thing, like the snappers that you throw at the ground.
I bought it in a magic shop.
That's funny, man.
And I was like, oh my God, how does this work? You know, it literally they're little black pellets, and you put a fire on them, and this huge snake comes out of them. I was like, whoa, that's literally the first introduction to magic I got. And since then, I was just like, oh, magic's so cool.
No, it is cool, man. It's a puzzle that people need to try to innately want to solve.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And dude, our job is to make the puzzle really difficult to solve.
You know what you should do? You should go to your mom and bring in one of the little black pellets and be like, Mom, I have a new act. Put it on the table and like play this epic music in the background, and then and then you do your hair thing, and then you light the match, and then you light it, and it goes, and in the background there's this crazy music, and then at the end you just say something. Say, should I enter it? Should I add it into my act? See what she says.
Should I compete at FISM with it?
Oh my God.
To be honest, she probably would like it because she's like, oh, at least it's not a cut treatment. She hates it. She's like, oh, so boring. All you do is you pick a card, and then you find the card, and that's it. And I'm like,
that's hilarious.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
So she's always
that's why all my magic is visual. Like that's why I never had process type tricks. Like like
yeah.
I mean, I've done those tricks before, but I'm talking about in an act. I would never have that in an act. Because she has no patience for that.
I mean,
she's like, I don't even want to pick a card.
Yeah,
she's like, can you just riffle and tell me to say stop, and I'll pick a card.
I love it.
That's so funny. It's so funny. I have so many Asian friends, and they're always like, "Oh my God, my mom!" Like it's never good enough. You know, you can create whatever you want, but it's never good enough for them. So
okay. So the last question we had come in here for the chat was from Rhonda. Rhonda wanted to know, what do you think about people who teach your secret moves on YouTube?
Hey, let's be honest. He just won his third AGT.
His half AGT, yeah.
His third AGT for someone.
I mean, yeah, it's like it's the same as someone revealing a puzzle. You know,
yeah.
You have these amazing, famous puzzles that no one could solve for a long time, and someone did solve it. It's the same thing. Yeah, I got to create a new puzzle.
Right.
That's it. That's my job. You know, I got to create something new. I mean, and that was the whole goal. I mean, I released how to do it. You can buy how to do it if you want. You know, I'm not. I don't care, because for me, it's not so much. It's not so much about knowing how to do it. You know, that stuff doesn't really bother me so much, because it's about remember that experience I was talking about, that first
Yeah.
initial time you see something for the first time.
Mhm.
That emotion, that it's a very subtle emotion that people don't understand when they first see it. But it's that, you know, that jump scare from the movie. And
Yeah.
like I said, you watch it once, that's it. Because you watch it another time, you're not going to get that again. So
Yeah.
doesn't matter. So you want to learn it? Go ahead. You can learn it.
Yeah.
You can go learn how Quentin Tarantino made his movie, all the secrets that he did, you know.
Yeah.
But I bet that has nothing to do. It's completely different from your very first experience of watching Inception or watching Kill Bill, Falling One.
Right.
You know, you have that initial experience, and that's the most important piece of it.
Yeah.
That's all you should care about when you're performing. Who cares about if they watch it the second time? You know,
Right.
then they can figure it out. That's fine.
Yeah.
You know, but that's all that matters.
Yeah. I mean, if they come and watch it the second time, that means you did your job right the first time.
You did your job, and they want to figure out.
Yeah.
And they want to look into it more. It's just like watching a movie a second time. When I watch a movie a second time, I don't watch it to get that same feeling I had. I watch it a second time to analyze it. The same thing as analyzing a trick. When you do analyze a trick, you break it down. You break it down how it works and stuff. It's a science. It's like film. It's you know, everything has a secret. Every part, you can't view magic as this like different from cooking or different from movies or different from directing or whatever. It's all the same thing. We all have the secret thing that makes it work and makes people feel a certain way, manipulates their feeling essentially. You know, for food, it's like, oh, how did it make me taste? Like, why did I taste it like this? Like, why did it taste so good? You know, or why did it taste so bad? And then you go there a second time to figure it out.
Sometimes you go there a second time.
Sometimes you don't. Sometimes you don't go.
Sometimes if you're ever in Napa, right? Don't go to Wang Sung because it's horrible.
Okay.
I literally,
Noted.
don't ever go, even a first time. I assure you. But just think of it this way: whenever you want to put out regret, just put it on DVD. So if anybody wants to take it, they have to like really do the
Jump
work.
through the hoops, yeah.
Yeah, I can put it on through DVD. No, I'm gonna put it on a floppy, a Blu-ray.
Okay, right there.
Let's make it, because I don't know who has a Blu-ray player these days.
Do it Laserdisc. Less people have
Do Laserdisc.
Yeah.
I mean, hey, we could facilitate
Laserdisc.
a floppy disk too, but it would be like 142 floppy disks.
Oh yeah, no, that was really... Actually, what about remember Ultra HD? Was that it? Ultra HD DVDs?
So yeah, those were the HD DVDs were like the competitor to Blu-ray. I
They
doubt
turned-
any.
they
Right.
pretty much turned
Right.
into Blu-ray.
Yeah, but I don't know.
And
it used to
did
be
you-
one of them was compatible.
Right?
Yeah, one of them was
Right.
compatible and the other wasn't. I think you could play HD DVD on a Blu-ray player, but you couldn't play Blu-ray on an HD DVD player, maybe, or
Right.
something like that.
Okay.
But yeah,
That's so funny.
That's funny. Can you play Blu-ray on PlayStation 5?
I think you
I think you
should
can.
be able
I
to.
think you
Yeah, I think
can,
most
yeah.
of
Should
them
be able
now
to.
allow.
Okay.
Yeah, so yeah, we'll
Then
find
I'll
some.
go back to DVD then. No,
Dude,
I'll go back to
VHS.
DVD.
That's where it is, dude. VHS. No one's got
VHS,
no one's got a
yeah.
VHS player anymore.
Yeah,
Dude, you can go buy one for like $5.95 probably at Kmart.
probably. If Kmart's still alive.
Yeah, I know. I don't even think they exist anymore. I don't even know where I
Yeah,
got that.
very few and far between.
That's so
Very
funny.
few.
'cause-
There is one in Acton though.
Is it?
Like
Of course there
right
is.
next to my school is a Kmart. Right next to my school.
That's hilarious. You know what? There are a lot of people who have VHS because they collect the Disney Disney videos,
Oh, jeez.
and you can't play them unless you have a VHS. But
Wow.
they're collectibles, so they don't get rid of them.
No, those things are going to be worth a lot in the future.
The Disney videos are worth a lot. That's for sure.
And so we're going to wrap this on an interesting note here, because I think this will kind of tell a nice little personal aspect to it. Stu had a really interesting question, which is, what would you call your autobiography?
I have no idea. I mean, off the top of my head, I would just call it the same title as my show, Limitless.
There you
Nice.
go.
Cool title. And it has my name in it. Or Shenanigans, because that has
Dude, holy shit, Shenanigans should be
That's
the
a
name
great
of your comedy act.
There you go. That's perfect. Dude, you can start off by opening up for like, what's his name? What the hell's it? Pip? What's his name?
Piff.
Piff.
Oh, yeah, Piff, yeah.
You can start your
he's
comedy
a
act by
host.
opening up for Piff.
Yes,
Oh,
absolutely.
again,
That's
set the
funny.
tone. Well, again, Shin, it has been an absolute pleasure, man. We had such a blast chatting with you today. Thank you
Likewise.
so much for coming on. For anyone who has not decided to travel to Vegas yet, you should absolutely go check out Limitless dropping live in the Mirage on July 1st.
July 1st.
July 1st. There's no time out. I'm so used to saying when Kickstarters drop. I'm like,
Well,
oh, at
what's
noon.
what's
like,
the time of the
yeah.
first show?
7:30, I believe.
There you go,
7:30. There you go. So for anyone who is looking for an excuse to go travel, this is it. Go check out Shin's new act. It's going to be absolutely amazing. I know Steve's going to be there as soon as he can. I'm going to try and get out there as soon as I can as well. Yeah. So we're excited for it, man. I'm sure you're excited for it as well. But thank you so much for coming on. It was a pleasure getting to chat with you today.
Guys.
Yeah, no, absolutely our pleasure, man. Honestly.
Stick around for the after party. And before we leave, we have to talk about who's going to be here next week.
Oh, yes. So this, I don't even know how I want to say his name.
Mark, thank you.
Mark, thank you. We appreciate the support, man.
Yes,
thank you.
Appreciate it.
So yeah, so next week's guest, we're actually having, this is a first for us, I guess we'll say. We're actually having 3 guests on next week. There are 3 guests we've had on in the past, but they all share a similar sense of humor for episode 69. And so we are having Kevin Ho, Harapan Ong, and Jaspers on the show. Are 3 of our favorite Singaporeans out there, other than Shin here. So we're having
cool.
2 weeks.
What a coincidence!
I know,
exactly.
Right?
So we are going to be having what I can only imagine will be a hilarious and debaucherous episode next week.
It's the Singaporean 69 show.
Oh my God. Let's not start that one up already. Jeez. All right. Yeah, we'll figure out a better title for it before the show goes live, but we're really excited to check it out. So everyone make sure to tune in next Sunday at 2 p.m. for episode 69 with Kevin Ho, Jaspers, and Harapan Ong. Again, thank you everyone so much for coming out tonight and for showing your support, not only for Shin, but for the show. We hope you all have a chance to go check out his show live. And while you're at it, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. We appreciate you all so much and enjoy the rest of your Sunday.
Peace.